The Latrim Company changed the game when they invented modular plastic conveyor belts over 40 years ago. These belts and innovative Intralocks technology are transforming movement in manufacturing facilities around the world. Intralocks is a dynamic global company now hiring in production, warehousing, shipping, and more. If you want to be part of our successful team, visit Latrim.com. That's LAITRAM.com.
Need auto parts but can't get to a store right now? Head to O'ReillyAuto.com. Buy your parts online and pick them up in any of the 5,000 O'Reilly Auto Parts stores nationwide. No shipping cost, easy returns, and convenient pickup on your schedule. Shop your way at O'ReillyAuto.com. O'Reilly Auto Parts. Better prices every day.
O'Reilly Auto Parts.
Mr. Ed's Oyster Bar and Fish House, 3117 21st Street, open Monday through Thursday from 11 to 9, Friday and Saturday till 10. Serving the freshest
LSU like in
Come get oysters raw on the half shell, jaw rolled, and try our colder hot
No, they're host. No, they're yeah. Basically, instead of instead of hosting.
Down in our beautifully renovated
or instead of, should I say, they usually do this every year. They're hosting some kind of tournament, quote unquote. There's going to be a bunch of other games. The teams, like, the other team's going to play, like, in the afternoon, in the morning.
So it's kind of like a little...
Yeah, like a round robin. And they host at least one a year, and then this one is in place of, like,
Black is still raking in success despite his current
usual
legal troubles.
year when they go to Houston and play in that round robin at Minute Maid. So they do that.
Jail following a January arrest on gun and drug charges. The incarceration stemmed from a raid on his home by law enforcement based on an Instagram video of him showing off marijuana and guns with his toddler son around. He has pled
Southeastern
not guilty.
will play Toledo or Sacred Heart, like that kind of thing. Like, they'll play each other a couple times, and LSU will play all
The
three,
Rolling
but,
Stones are working on their first all-new original studio album since 2005. In a recent interview, Keith Richards said the band has spent a total of about 3 weeks in the studio over the past 2 years. The guitarist warned fans that the group's next studio effort is still in the early stages, but promised that it will happen. Randy Travis, Alan Jackson, Vince Gill, and Chris Stapleton are being profiled by GQ for a fashion portfolio called The Sultans of Twang. The spring 2018 issue is out now. Brooklyn's own Jay-Z has been named the richest musician according to Forbes magazine, surpassing Diddy for the title. It says the rapper's empire is valued at $900 million. That's entertainment.
Score.
NBC News Radio.
As you all know, our Relay for Life event is right around the corner. We're taking on our biggest rival.
Are we live?
Yes, sir.
Yes, we are.
Well,
hey, man, it's like we're a minute from showtime, dude.
Like 30 seconds from showtime.
Yeah.
No, we're 10 seconds out.
Join us at Relay for
Save
Life.
it for when it's over.
Are we live yet?
Thank God it's Friday. Friday.
Dunc and Holder on a Country Fried Friday, March 2nd. Larry Holder, Clyde Verdun in our NOLA.com Times-Picayune studios. Dave DeCorbier back in iHeart Central, maybe without the jackhammer in his ear today. Maybe we can actually scream him and he won't be ready and willing to jump out the booth over there on Howard Avenue.
Fair.
And I did not mention one person.
As you shouldn't.
Jeffrey Duncan's seat is empty. Now, we anticipated that his seat may be empty because Jeff is learning a hard lesson that trying to get or re-up a passport is basically like going to the DMV. You have no way to gauge time. Jeff may be there till next week for all I know.
Absolutely. I mean, as we know with some governmental procedures, such as the DMV, these things are the complete opposite of quick, painless, and easy.
I'm willing to bet I'm going to say if he's able to make the show today. I'm not going to say
we're placing bets on it right now.
We should have
over/under on number 1, does he even come to the show? Or 2, what part of the show, first hour or second hour, does he show up?
We should put this as a
We
prop
need a
bet.
poll. A poll in his honor.
We should a Twitter poll in Jeff's honor. Will he
doing
make
one
the
right
show?
now on the Duncan Holder at Duncan Holder. If you're not following us on Twitter, at Duncan Holder, about to put up a poll. Larry's going to retweet it. It's going to be great.
Yes, I like it, Clyde. Make a poll. Will Jeff make the show? Yes or no? We could put it right up there with Darius Guice's 40 time, Dante Jackson's 40 time.
Oh man, prop bets out of the wazoo, dude.
I love it.
Absolutely.
Of course, but yeah, I bring those two up because Darius Guice spoke with the media yesterday at the NFL Scouting Combine. Also, our own Josh Katzenstein and Herbie Teope caught up with Sean Payton. We've had some tidbits we brought up yesterday. We'll bring up some more tidbits today, and we'll do that later on in the show because Sean Payton's first year in the competition committee, and he is basically neck deep in what's a catch and what's not a catch debate, and he's in the discussions of where the NFL is trying to figure out if they're going to change the defensive pass interference penalty. And I noticed a certain Saints cornerback on Twitter chimed in and was all in favor of that, one P.J. Williams. And I bet P.J. Williams would be all in favor of it because he was hit with at least 3 deep ball pass interference penalties where they just threw it up, assumed he'd make pass interference, and they did. So I'm not stunned that P.J. Williams is all in on that potential change. We'll see if those changes actually would be voted on later on this month, since it's March, at the end of the month at the spring meetings, the annual meetings. Actually, I'll be there. They're in Orlando. So that's the annual owners meetings when rule changes get voted on and approved. So we'll hear what Sean Payton has to say about that. Darius Guice on his approach to the combine and going forward. But you have to be on board. Pelicans tonight hit the road again. They take on the Dallas Mavericks. They're looking for 8 in a row. Clyde, I never thought I'd be saying the Pelicans would be looking for their 8th straight win at all this season, much less without Boogie Cousins. We've seen, as we correctly prognosticated yesterday, that Anthony Davis won Western Conference Player of the Month. It was the no-brainer of the year for that award, but obviously some big ramifications with every game the Pelicans play, and now they're 1-0 on the road in this 4-game trip. They look to make it 2-0.
Absolutely. You know, we talked about this a lot yesterday in terms of how the schedule sets up for the Pelicans going into really this, not only the stretch run on the road, but this stretch run in the month of March. This is make or break time. This is win or go home time for the Pelicans, and clearly with an 8-game winning streak, they've helped with putting space between themselves and the bottom half teams that are still fighting for that spot. Your Clippers of the world, your Jazzes of the world, really, honestly, and you're going up against a Mavericks team that is struggling. I mean, the only thing that the Mavericks have left, and again, as we talked about earlier this week when the Pelicans played the Suns are not going to be just some team that's going to roll over. Now, I said that about the Suns. I may actually say that about the Mavericks because the Mavericks are not good. The only thing that they have left holding on to, which I believe happened either last night or Wednesday, was Dirk Nowitzki. He is the last strain of anything that the Mavs are holding on to of the past. And I think he scored his 31,000th point, I believe Wednesday. So he is among rare air there, but you got to believe this is last year. You got to believe this is his farewell tour. He's not going to get the same treatment that Kobe did, even though he deserves it. He has been a fantastic player. He helped transcend what European-style players can do in the NBA. Made it easier for guys like Kristaps Porzingis, guys like that, to really come and make a name for themselves in the NBA. But the Pelicans, I believe, know what they have to do, and it's like we talked about. For some reason, the Pelicans are better on the road than they are at home. So why shouldn't we think they can probably make it 8?
They're just about even. They're 17-12 at home, 18-14 on the road. But Claude, you look at their road record compared to the rest of the Western Conference, and they have the 3rd best road record. Rockets are 24-7, Warriors are 24-7, Pelicans are 18-14. The next best team is Portland, 17-15. And oh, by the way, Portland is now at the number 4 spot. The Spurs are at the 5 spot. Portland has won 5 in a row. I thought they might be a team that would be taking the dive and fallen back to the pack.
Yeah.
It looks like it's Denver who's been doing that, even though they've won 7 of their last 10, but they've lost 2 in a row. You can't afford to lose 2 in a row.
Right.
Honestly.
You can't in the Western Conference. No way. And another team to really look out for now, specifically of that group that kind of, you're not wishing bad things on them, obviously, but another team that you have to look at is Minnesota. Minnesota, without Jimmy Butler, they've got to figure out how to, and I mean, really, a lot of that weight's going to fall to Karl Anthony Towns. If you look at them, they're 38-27. So the biggest thing I think you're looking at right now is, and specifically in this month, is how are these teams going to start moving around like, ping pong balls and like those flip charts where like one team goes up and another one comes down and all the shifting and things like that, because really this month is going to decide, and I really think solidify, outside of your Houston, Golden State, and if Minnesota is somehow able to continue to go on this run even without Jimmy Butler for however long he's going to be out, because I think it's an indeterminate amount of time right now, you could really see the Pelicans make a case and make a place for that 4 through 6. And it's like we talked about yesterday too. If they're able to lock down one of those spots, the only team that I think I would not want to see the Pelicans get matched up with is Oklahoma City. I think Oklahoma City, because then I think you can really start talking about potential matchups that the Pelicans have a really good shot at doing well against, and some teams that may cause a little bit of trouble. I think Oklahoma City might be there. Denver might. But with the way this team's playing, I don't think you can count out the Pelicans in any series except maybe Minnesota, because Minnesota basically had their number the entirety of the year, so maybe not them either.
I didn't even realize I said that the Pelicans were playing tonight. They're playing Sunday.
Sunday, yeah.
I just totally misspoke. I knew where they were playing.
Okay.
I just, strain of thought, Jeff's empty chair has got me frazzled.
I put up the poll, so I'm going to check that to see how it's doing, by the way. So retweet that, Larry.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, you're talking about matchups and playoffs. Claude, even though you know me, I'm now I might be riding shotgun on the bandwagon.
Oh, absolutely. Now. I don't know if you deserve that seat, but yeah, I can understand
Randy
if you were.
in Metairie.
I'm going to put myself in shotgun in the bandwagon.
As long as you're not a side seat driver.
But I'm right next to the door, so
yeah,
if I need to jump out, I need to jump out. But I'm not ready. I'm not ready to talk matchups yet.
That's fair.
I'm not ready to do that.
I like to project out sometimes, just for the fact of because you can start kind of formulating things, because at the end of the day, what's crazy about this and how long the season is, 82 games, we're in March. You only have a couple weeks in April, and then it's the playoffs. That's it.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, if you want to get involved in the conversation, you can. 504-260-1280 is the number to get involved. We're guest-free on Friday. We have so much to talk about. I figured, what the heck, we had plenty of guests yesterday, so we will just touch on all kinds of topics today. But, yeah, we'll hit the phone lines here. Let's go to Metairie and talk with Randy. Hey, Randy, thanks for calling Dunc and Holder. What you got?
Hey, good morning, guys.
Morning.
I heard y'all already corrected that the Pels don't play until Sunday.
Yes, I totally misspoke. I knew it in my head, and Friday just flew out of my mouth. But, yeah, definitely play Sunday. They've got a long break between that Spurs game and Dallas game, and it's they could take any rest that they can get, given all the overtime games and all the minutes that, say, Anthony Davis and Drew Holiday are taking. So I'm sure they're able to at least kick back and relax on that game.
Yeah, something very interesting could happen tonight. If Utah beats Minnesota, seeds 3 through 7 will be separated by 1/2 of a game.
Yep.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Yep.
It's the standings are ridiculous. I'll just go through them right here. Minnesota is the 3 seed. They're 38-27, and they have 2 teams behind them only by a half game, and then the Pelicans and the Thunder are only a game behind the T-Wolves. So you can't afford to go on a 2-game losing streak. You just can't do it. And it's something that the Pelicans have had to win 7 in a row to get in this position. The Blazers have had to win 5 in a row to get into this position. And the Spurs, they're hitting the downslide, 3-7 in their last 10 games, and that's why they're kind of in a free fall right now.
What else makes this strange is that the Eastern Conference is kind of the same. Seeds 3 through 7 are separated by 3 games.
Yeah, the Eastern Conference is, and specifically, with how we've talked about Cleveland struggles and then basically having to deal away half of their team at the trade break, but then dealing with how legitimate is Boston, how legitimate is Toronto, and then with the Wizards and John Wall being hurt, it's still pretty much, status quo there because of the names there and the teams that have really cemented themselves as the teams to watch out for. But it just goes back to show you how tough the Western Conference has been and how there's so many great players on that side that you just wish that, like, if there was some way that the Pelicans could somehow get back into the East.
Oh, here we go.
Hey, hold on.
This is PR guy Clyde trying to get his way to the East. Former Hornets PR guy Clyde. Go ahead, Randy.
Hi, guys. Have a great day.
Yeah, you too.
Randy,
Thanks, Randy.
it. Yeah.
Look, hold on. Before you say that, there was a story last night out of Seattle. So we talked about it. We talked about how, or at least I brought up that, there are plans underway to renovate Key Arena in Seattle. The first thing on the docket that they are absolutely 100% going to do as soon as that arena is done is get a hockey team. They've been wanting to expand to Seattle.
I've read that.
Yeah,
yes.
They want to expand to Houston, too. That ought to be interesting because Toyota Center is already retrofit for it or something like that. The second thing that they want to do, yesterday, they said absolutely 100% they want to bring basketball, NBA basketball, back to Seattle.
Well, would you have to add a second team?
That's the other question. You would definitely have to because then your conferences would be out of whack. So you have to look at another team, and that's the only thing I think that would be stopping or prohibiting the NBA from looking specifically at how they could go about not realigning the conferences per se, but if they really want to get back in that Seattle market, they also at the same time have to figure out what could that other market be and where would they put it.
Jeff would be...
He wants Louisville.
He would be stumping for Louisvle.
Absolutely. I mean, and that's the thing, too, because for all intents and purposes, the story out of Louisville is that they had a perfect reason to want to build the KFC Yum Center where it is. It's a gorgeous arena. It's right there on the river.
I thought they were going to call it like the KFC bucket.
I don't think they.
I think that was here.
I'm going to say. I think you're right.
I think that was a bunch of years ago. They were going to call it, and it was. I almost feel like this was way back when that New Orleans was jousting with Louisville and other teams for the Timberwolves. It might go that far back to where they wanted to build something called like the KFC bucket and call their arena the bucket.
Which is why we can never really trust anything from Louisville to begin with. When you think about it.
Well,
hey man, we're going to the bucket tonight.
Big matchup. A lot of people call the Smoothie King Center the blender.
I never really understand. I always wanted to call it the perch. It's the Pelican perch, man. But yeah, so I mean Louisville and they need, as Jeff would tell you, as specifically the city of Louisville sunk a lot of public money into that facility, not just for Louisville, but for other events that they hope they could attract. They need tenants, and they need a tenant that's going to be in there 41 times a year. That would really help not only with paying off the rest of the land and the building costs and all the other money that the public sank in. They could reinvest that money into keeping it up and all that kind of stuff. But it's going to be hard. Louisville's a large city too, but like when you look at like the size of cities and the places that are already really retrofit and or ready to handle an NBA team, you're really looking at some cities that aren't necessarily NBA towns. You would say maybe New Orleans is an NBA town, but it has been for 17 years. But there are other places that it'd be interesting to see how they'd be able to put an NBA team there.
Well, as you just campaigned for something in Seattle, I think you're running for public office in Seattle or something.
No, I don't know. I mean, I've always wanted to go to Washington. I've missed out on it twice in my career. I've always wanted to go to Seattle. There's something about it.
Well, New Orleans is going to be heading to Dallas on Sunday. I won't misspeak again, even though it's like right on my brain and I misspoke. Anyway, Pelicans taking on the Mavericks Sunday. Every game's a big game, regardless of the record of the team that they're playing. Oh, by the way, the Mavericks are 19-43, and the Pelicans 9 games above 500, 35-26. All right, let's take a break right here on the show. When we get back, lots to talk about.
Yeah, like how we get stayed in Louisville. Why don't we talk about Louisville's basketball team?
Nah, it's no fun if Jeff's not here to hear it.
No, but I mean, he knows, he can feel it. It's almost kind of like he's feeling the Louisville force. Anytime someone says anything bad about Louisville, he can just feel a little bit of twinge in the back of his neck.
Nah, I'm good.
All right.
Big weekend in college baseball, especially Uptown. Tulane hosting Cal State Fullerton. LSU hosting a trio of teams, and one team that's already bitten them this week for the first time in a decade, Southeastern. They get to play them again on Sunday. We'll talk a little college baseball, and we will also talk NFL scouting combine. You'll hear a little bit from Sean Payton and Darius Guice. So stay with us and give us a call. 504-260-1280 is the number to get involved here on Sports 1280. NOLA.com and the iHeartRadio app. Dunc and Holder.
This is the band Perry. Band Perry, two brothers and a sister. Sister's lead singer. One brother plays the bass, the other one plays the fiddle.
I mean, it was a tough loss, and we gotta get over it eventually. But it's a little bittersweet.
No, seriously, yeah. So let me stereotype this, and then also at the same time possibly be right. I'm not that far off. Nope, plays the fiddle.
I know we're gonna step it up even more next season. So
I wouldn't be surprised if on tour they actually do that. Absolutely. You're gonna put they put their nose up to the mic, and because it only picks like that, you're just
for our iHeartRadio Music Awards.
Oh my God!
See me, Ed Sheeran.
Love Ed Sheeran.
Hey guys, I can't perform that one song. I have a sinus infection.
Can't wait to see her.
I know. My nasal cavities are all blocked up. Sorry.
TNT and True TV, you'll be there.
That's gonna be a gross microphone.
Keep listening for your next chance to win a trip to our iHeartRadio Music Awards. For the love of music.
If you need a payday loan fast, try LendUp.com. Apply in minutes on your phone or computer, and you could have cash in your account fast. LendUp.com, the better payday loan. LendUp.com, subject to availability in your state. LendUp is a licensed credit services organization, not a direct lender, in Ohio and Texas.
My mom has a permanently stuck in the 80s thing. We're talking teased up feathered hair, acid wash denim jacket, and shoulder pads. So many shoulder pads. But I just got a new phone from AT&T, and check this out. I got a second phone to gift to my mom. So now, she can finally ditch her old one for a phone that can actually stream all the 80s shows she loves.
Visit your local AT&T store and get a great deal on 2 popular smartphones when you buy both on AT&T Next with eligible wireless service. See store for details. AT&T.
Oh, Dave, do we have any more
in a world
baseball
of salt
tickets?
and ketchup, Taco Bell shakes up the game, only to expose a web of fries.
Dave.
Fries seasoned in Mexican spices.
Dave, Bueller, Bueller.
They don't want these coming out.
Who's they?
The burger people. They.
Starring Nacho Fries in a performance that has critics craving. It'll change the way you look at fries, exclaims the Hollywood Reporter. $1 Nacho Fries, now serving at a Taco Bell near you.
At participating locations for a limited time, prices may vary, tax extra.
15 seconds.
Hey, do we have any baseball tickets we want to give away or no?
Hold please.
Okay.
You can get your retirement plan on track. Visiting aceyourretirement.org can help. Brought to you by AARP and the Ad Council.
Awesome weekend.
Yeah.
This is Dunc and Holder on Sports 1280, New Orleans.
Welcome back, Dunc and Holder. Larry Holder, Clyde Verdane here with you. What's the results of the Twitter poll yet? Because if you missed the first segment, Jeff is stuck trying to get a passport. He's not being thrown out of the country. Like some people probably would hope. Some of his quote-unquote haters want him excommunicated, at least out of New Orleans, and maybe, he can go live in the Bahamas, I guess. What's the poll results of if Jeff actually makes the show today?
Well, fortunately, unlike Jeff is able to do, I actually know how to use social media these days. And instead of making a poll, a day, 2 weeks, I only made it for 2 hours, so just enough for the length of the show. But right now, I put it, will the passport needing Jeff Duncan make today's show? Question marks. 14% yes. 86% hell no.
What are these options? Why isn't it just yes or no?
Because that's not how Twitter works, dude. You gotta make people draw them in. You gotta make them want to bite.
I think the question is enough to draw them in because they're just wondering if Jeff's ever going to get out of passport hell.
Yeah, and right now, passport Satan is winning.
I'm going to go with whatever that second option was. Hell nah.
Hell no.
Okay. I'm sure LSU baseball fans after Wednesday night's game were also saying hell no. It's the first time that Southeastern, it's just kind of stunning to me because Southeastern's been such a good team for so long. I can't believe they haven't been able to beat LSU in a midweek game, but they beat them in Hammond on Wednesday, and they're going to have to take them on again on Sunday. LSU up and down, and Clyde, the expectations throughout this offseason surrounding LSU baseball has been up and down. Some polls have them high going into the season, others middle of the pack, and we've seen that even the media figured that LSU would probably be middle of the pack in the SEC West. And so they're taking on Toledo, Sacred Heart, and Southeastern. You would think they would get back on track this weekend up at Alex Box Stadium.
Well,
you'd think.
And before we even really get into like the meat of LSU baseball, let's talk a little bit about some of the teams that are coming in this weekend. Toledo is coming in with a record of 2-5. Last weekend, or over the last Friday, they dropped a doubleheader to Austin, PA, 16-4 and 8-7.
Not exactly the Duke of college baseball.
Yeah, it's not. It's definitely not. This is a team that's coming in again, another cold weather team coming to a fair weather city to be able to get some more games in. And then Sacred Heart. Sacred Heart's only played 3 games, and they are 1-2 on the year. Their only win is over Norfolk State, 9-4. But they've dropped games to Stony Brook, who is very good. And
they're still good.
Stony Brook came to Nichols, played baseball, played 4 games, won all 4, scored double-digit runs in 2 of the 4 games.
So they were still able to gain momentum after beating LSU in the Super Regional a few years ago.
Absolutely, they're still a quality team, still a very quality program.
Did not know that.
Yeah, and then Southeastern is literally going to be one of the better teams to come in because they're 6-3 overall, including that win over LSU over the weekend. So, going into now the meat of LSU baseball, where it stands right now, where it needs to go, you have to believe that the Sunday game against Southeastern is going to be the game to watch again after what we saw on Wednesday. That's going to be the toughest matchup for them. You hope that LSU will be able to pull out a very comfortable win over Toledo, over Sacred Heart, and then going into the Southeastern Louisiana game at home, playing a little bit better than what they played on the road. And it's like we talked about too a couple weeks ago after the series loss to Notre Dame. These midweek games for LSU are going to be huge for them. They've got to take as many as they can going forward, specifically because if they're going to drop games on the weekend, how they make up the rest of the season and how the rest of the games, how the rest of their schedule is going to lay out, these midweek games are going to be imperative for them to take seriously every week, throw out the best pitches they can, score as many runs as possible, and not give up runs. But that's the biggest thing that I've seen in every report that I've read about LSU so far. It's that LSU has somehow found a way to go out to a big lead, but they can never hold on to it.
Well, all I know is last year there was the panic about the midweek games, and of course they made up for it on the weekends, and was certainly a better team than what they have right now. I think Paul Maneri knows this is kind of a transition year, and I'm not sure how good they're going to be come SEC play. I just don't know. They're trying to figure this thing out. I know they're going to be having a Sunday starter, A.J. Labasse, making his debut against Southeastern, and they're just scuffling for pitching. I understand you could say what you want about offensively, but pitching is going to be the big question mark. Basically, because do I know if I could trust Zach Hess so far? One bad outing, one good outing. He's got to figure out how to transition from going full blast, all energy in one inning, as opposed to spreading it out. You need to get 6 innings out of Zach Hess. And you're trying to figure this thing out, and I don't know when they're going to do it.
Yeah,
you figure
you need to do it for SEC play.
Well, if you could get a couple of good outings this weekend, I know it's inferior opponents.
Yeah.
Yet, if you could get some good outings, pitch location, even if it's not something to where, even if they get 5 1/3 and they might throw 90-something pitches, but easy innings, that sort of thing. I think they just need to have some good mojo around them as far as because you took on Notre Dame, took on Southeastern, and you took on Texas.
Yeah.
All 3 of those schools are pretty good.
Absolutely. And, let's not kid ourselves that schools like LSU, bigger Power 5 Division I schools that have the resources in baseball are going to be having games like this. They're all trying to figure out how to get that consistency before they all open conference play, because conference play is a grind. You're playing close to, in some respects, you're playing either anywhere from 25 to 30 games in some conferences. You just have to do it. It's just the way it is. And the biggest thing is that you want to be able to hit that consistency key where you know who your weekend rotation is, you know who your midweek guys are if you want to get some younger guys in the midweek, and the midweek isn't as important because it's more for really learning, such as one quote that Paul Maneri had after the loss to Southeastern. I think the kids will gain a lot of confidence from this experience. I think our team will grow from this experience. It's hard to lose a game, but I think the next time we're in this situation, having been in this situation tonight will have helped us. So, that's the thing that Paul Maneri has got to say. He can't, at this point, talk about how he can't trust his pitchers or he can't trust his hitters or any of that kind of stuff. Like, at this point, he's got to give his team as much confidence as possible, because we're talking about how in the next couple of weeks you're going to be opening the opening conference play against Missouri at home, and Missouri is going to be a quality team. I have a very good friend of mine who is from Missouri, lives in Columbia, and Missouri.
They're typically not that good, right?
They're not that good, but
typically
they've been tearing the cover off the ball. And they spend the first 2 weeks of their season usually somewhere south. Usually they've started in Arizona, or they've been, like this year, they're in Florida. So they spent 2 weeks in Florida, absolutely tore the cover off the ball, scored 19 runs in the game, scored 14 runs in the game. You want to be able to really have your team ready, specifically on the mound, when that team and SEC play starts in 2 weeks.
Okay, simple yes or no question as we go to break here on Dunc and Holder. Clyde, you just give me a yes or no.
Yes.
If they get swept this weekend, is it time to panic?
Yeah.
I would agree. Let's take a break right here on the show.
Make it harder next time, please.
No, I just want to make sure, because you know me, sometimes I irrationally panic. But if you get swept by Toledo and Sacred Heart and Southeastern, I think it might be a little bit.
If you drop 2 of these 3, it's going to be a problem.
So if you drop 2 out of 3, it's a problem.
Oh, yeah.
All right. I could get on board with that, too. All right. I like a little panic, even though I like a little happiness, and I need a little panic on the side. Exactly. So don't forget, we'll be talking NFL Scouting Combine. You'll hear from Sean Payton and Darius Guice, of course, former LSU running back. And also, want to get you involved. Phone calls, 504-260-1280 is the number to get involved here on Sports 1280. NOLA.com, the iHeartRadio app. Dunc and Holder. My wife says I look lonely.
You look lonely.
Your forecast on Sports 1280.
You're talking into the void, and then someone else is talking to you. Where is that person?
International. From the Fox 8 Weather Center, I'm meteorologist
It's like,
Guice.
obviously,
Get ready for one of the
blame the
nicest
government.
weekends in a while. We are expecting today mostly sunny skies, lower humidity, temperature in the upper 60s to near 70. Now tonight, grab a jacket. Lower 40s on the North Shore, lower 50s south, and for your Saturday and Sunday, just absolutely beautiful. Sunny skies, daytime highs around 68 to 72. Overnight lows, some 40s on the North Shore, 50s south, and it looks like it will be a mostly dry weekend for all to enjoy. From the Fox 8 Weather Center, I'm meteorologist Bruce Katz with your Weather Authority forecast.
Sponsoring a child with compassion is the most effective way to end extreme child poverty. Release a child from poverty in Jesus' name. Sponsor a child now at compassion.com/radio.
O'Reilly. Need auto parts but can't get to a store right now? Head to O'ReillyAuto.com. Buy your parts online and pick them up in any of the 5,000 O'Reilly Auto Parts stores nationwide. No shipping cost, easy returns, and convenient
Cal State
pickup
Florida's
on your
1 and
schedule.
7?
Shop
Yeah,
your way
dude,
at
Cal State.
O'ReillyAuto.com.
Look, that old
O'Reilly
gray
Auto
mare,
Parts.
she ain't
Better
what she used
parts,
to be,
better
dude.
prices every day.
Yeah.
Auto Parts. The Starlight Lounge presents An Evening with the Progressive Box.
Oh, what a great audience. Let's dim the lights for this next one. Nope, too much. There it is. Gotta get things just right. Like Progressive's Name Your Price tool. Tell us what you want to pay, and we help you find coverage options that fit your budget. And now, the mood is right. Wait, the lights are back on again. Trudy, can you? And now it's completely dark.
Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. Price and coverage match limited by state law.
They got their coach back last night at number 22. Arizona defeated Stanford 75-67 as Sean Miller made his return after a one-game absence. Miller given a standing ovation by the fans of the McHale Center to show support for him. Miller subjected to accusations of cheating in an ESPN report.
I have never arranged or directed payment or any improper benefits to a recruit or prospect or their family or representative.
Sounds kind of Maneri-ish.
He did not coach the Wildcats' overtime loss at Oregon on Saturday. Elsewhere, DeAndre Hunter hit a three-pointer as time expired. Number 1 Virginia capped a remarkable comeback for a 67-66 victory over Louisville. Number 15 Michigan staved off an upset bid from Iowa to advance to the quarterfinals of the Big Ten tournament with a 77-71 overtime victory at Madison Square Garden in New York. In the NBA, among the games last night, the Lakers beat the Heat 131-113. The Sixers stopped the Cavs 108-97. That's sports. Frank Arity, NBC News Radio.
Where I came from, I was born and raised in the boondocks.
Whether you bless those boys or take flight, we're talking your teams. Sports 1280, New Orleans.
Touch on a little bit more college baseball here on a Friday. Should be an exciting series over at Greer Field Church and Stadium. Tulane hosting perennial power Cal State Fullerton, and then I go and look up the record of Cal State Fullerton, and they are 1-7. I mean, who did they play? The Yankees? I thought Cal State Fullerton was supposed to be a world beater every year, all the time.
Let's look at their schedule. So they got swept at Stanford. All right,
well, Stanford's pretty good.
Yeah, Stanford's pretty good. They hosted Nevada, lost to them. Had a 3-game series against Houston, dropped 2 of 3. The only game that they won was a 15-inning affair against Houston in the opener, won 2-1. And now they're coming all the way here to New Orleans with a Tulane team that's actually playing well. That's 5-3 after picking up a pair of wins over Lamar in the midweek. That might be some trouble for Cal State Fullerton. This is definitely a long, far cry from the olden days where I saw Tulane Baseball tweet out something. I guess it was from a really, really old video from Cox Sports Television from CST.
Oh, I saw it when Rick Jones was speaking, and
exactly.
It was the last time they played him.
They were number one in the country. Tulane was number 1 in the country, and Cal State Fullerton was like number 3 or number 4. It certainly isn't going to be that, unfortunately, but it doesn't mean that it's not going to be good baseball. But, Tulane might have found and gotten a team, a perennial power, specifically among college baseball circles, especially out of California, that might be on the downslide, and that might be good for them.
Well, they've certainly got to feel good going in because Lamar's a pretty good program, and they took 2 from them this past week. And you got to be if we talked with Travis Jewett on the show, and even though this may look better as far as Tulane's 5-3, Cal State Fullerton's 1-7. I don't think Travis Jewett's going to have any of his players looking for anything as far as taking this thing lightly. You just look at the name on the jersey, and you just mentioned some of the teams they played. Look, Houston's a perennial power
in the American,
so it's not like they played any slouches. And so, look, going to be a great weekend. I'd encourage people to go out and check it out because the weather's going to be beautiful. And
I got to run downstairs real quick.
Oh my goodness, who is this?
We lose one, we gain another.
Hello, Jeffrey, you made it.
I am validated now, passport-wise.
You totally
That's so unfortunate.
Busted the Twitter poll. We did a Twitter poll of whether or not you would actually even make the show.
They're very efficient at the U.S. Passport Agency
Very
in
efficient.
New Orleans.
Yes, How long were you there?
They are.
How long were you there?
Over an hour.
Okay. I guess that's efficient like.
What time does the office open?
I think it opens at 9, but my appointment was at 9:30.
Oh, you had an appointment. Okay.
I had an appointment, but I had to go get a photo. I didn't know you had to have a separate photo.
Yeah, that's why you go to Walgreens, get a cheap photo.
Well, the reason I thought I didn't have to is I already had a passport.
You could have just used your mugshot on the paper.
I thought they would just use my existing photo from my existing passport, which was getting ready to expire.
You needed a new one?
You have to go get a new one.
You have to get a new one.
I did not know that.
Bad boy.
That's what took so long.
I don't.
Speaking of, I need to go look at mine. Thank you, Jeff. Appreciate it.
So you have to get, just for your future reference, you have to get a photo every time.
Well, I mean, I knew that, so
I just assumed you would.
We'll just draw a caricature of Clyde and submit it.
Little stick man.
Yeah.
But otherwise, very
Large head.
pleasant experience at the U.S. Passport Agency.
Oh,
very nice people up there, right in the same building as we are.
Jeff, you are just ruining this day. Because, I mean, especially the YouTubers, we were all expecting a fire and brimstone Jeff Duncan to come up here, frazzle.
We were anticipating you to be extremely angry.
Oh, yeah. And then,
this
let's talk about the U.S. government and their facilities.
I was waiting for an old man Jeff right
Yeah.
now. This is a cheery Jeff. He's now ready to go to Cheerio London, right?
TGIF, yes. London, then on to France in May. So I'm excited.
Look who's trying to be a world traveler, James Bond.
Trying to be. What do you mean trying to be?
Jeff's global.
I might even travel down to the bayou and see Clyde.
Hey, man, you can come down to my
I think
area.
you have to have a passport to get there.
That's definitely not true.
You definitely need a passport.
It's ironic that, Dave played Boondocks, which is one of my favorite songs from
I
the
don't
big
know
town.
what that is.
Because literally, their harmonies are fantastic. Either way, I felt like as soon as they played that, I was like, you know what? You know who enjoyed that? Jeff Duncan. Because apparently he says, I'm from the boonies, and you need a passport to get down.
Where exactly are you? Like, where were you born?
I was born in Morgan City, Louisiana. So I am Morgan City.
Right. I knew that.
I've been there
most
once.
of those. Yeah, you've been there once, of course. Naturally, most people who know Morgan City only drive through it to get to Lafayette using Highway 90.
You want to know why I was actually there once?
Yeah, I would love to.
I spent the weekend there as a teenager because I played in
why?
a USTA tennis tournament down there.
Absolutely.
Where at? Where did you? Where do they have tennis courts in Morgan
yes,
City?
there
are tennis courts. There's
Jeff,
actually civilized
Jeff,
tennis there.
Jeff, I'm literally, if I had lasers coming out of my eyes, I would burn you. I'm just saying.
I feel like Clyde's had about 10 monsters.
Yeah, what's
today.
going on with
No,
Clyde
man,
today?
I thought it's been a great week, guys. It's been a really good week. Putting on
Shrimp
some
and
good
Petroleum
content.
Festival is
That's
in
what it is,
Morgan
man.
City?
The only place you can get chicken on a stick, fried rice, and funnel cakes all under the bridge, all
When
under
is that
Highway 90.
every year? What
That
year?
is Labor Day every year, man. See some great bands, great local bands and stuff. Either way, Larry played tennis right next to the auditorium where all the tennis courts are next to the swimming pool.
That's probably accurate. This is
There's
probably
one
when
set of tennis courts in the entire city.
This was when I was.
You think it's a game, Jeff?
This is when I was like 14 years old.
Yeah, Well, I mean, Morgan City doesn't change that much, so you're not really missing a whole lot. It's still the same place. Like, if I took you there, you'd be like, yeah, this is it. Because that's how little changes.
He's very excitable, and when you go after Petroleum Town,
Yeah,
Morgan
dude.
City, he
Yeah.
gets very excitable.
Can you explain
Watch
to me,
your
though,
mouth.
the Shrimp and
MOUF.
Petroleum Festival?
Yes,
That
it's
seems like a very weird combination.
Not when you look at it. First of all, the Shrimp Petroleum Festival in Morgan City is the oldest harvest festival in the state of Louisiana.
Hang on. Do they serve shrimp cocktails?
I'm going to slap you if you say it. If you say it, I will smack you on YouTube. I swear. I'm going to. As in, it's one of the oldest. It's one of the oldest fair festivals in the state of Louisiana.
What's
Okay.
the harvest got to do with anything?
It's the type of fair, Jeff.
Are you competing
It's the
with
type of
like
fair.
Strawberry Festival?
Yeah, absolutely. Like the Strawberry Festival, like all the rest of these festivals that go on, the Crawfish Festival.
And this
all
is a
those
source
things.
of pride in Morgan City.
Absolutely, because it is the Shrimp Petroleum Festival in Morgan City, Louisiana, my hometown. Shout out.
Hold on, where the hell is this conversation gone?
Let me just finish this,
don't
and we'll
know.
get back to it. We'll get back to talking about Louisville losing a 13-point lead.
I'm just going to cover my face.
Yeah,
the
cover the
rest of
face.
segment.
No, it's just a harvest festival in honor of the two biggest exports of the city, shrimp and petroleum.
They couldn't do one or the other? I mean, it seemed like one or the
Why?
other would
Why
have
would
been
you have to
fine.
choose?
Why
Why would you
combine them?
choose?
It's confusing. Shrimp and petroleum.
Yeah,
Go with shrimp or go with the petroleum.
Yeah,
but
Kentuckian. Yeah,
don't
of course.
combine them. It's
I don't
a
understand.
weird combination.
Yeah, it's only weird to the non-believers. So get out of here.
So there's about 12 real believers.
I'm
so
back.
there we go.
No, like 14,
Well,
15,
glad Dave's back because no one else
20.
is. We've scared off the entire listening audience.
I have no problem with that.
Debating shrimp.
Anytime I get to talk about my beloved hometown, which I hope I'm a hometown product that they're proud of, I will do so.
The shrimp and petroleum crowd is now appeased. So let's take a break right here on the show. My bleeding ears can stop bleeding. I'll go get some tissues.
Shenanigans Friday.
Yeah, something like that. So all right, hour number 2, we'll be hearing from We'll be hearing from Sean
I can't stand
Payton.
y'all, man.
We'll be hearing from Sean Payton and Darius Guice from the NFL Scouting Combine. Our own Josh Katzenstein and Herbie Teope was able to catch up with Sean Payton for a few minutes. Josh Katzenstein was able to ask Darius Guice a few questions, so we'll bring you some of the answers to that. And will involve your phone calls, non-shrimp and petroleum related.
If you do have some, call in. I love it.
No, we will not take those phone calls. Dave will screen those phone calls out. You could go chime in on YouTube and y'all could talk all you want.
One already is. Glenn, who lives in Ecuador, his mom was from Houma, which is right down the road.
Right down the road. Everything's right down the road down there. So come on back. Sports 1280, NOLA.com, the iHeartRadio app. Dunc and Holder.
Right down the bio.
If I don't get some sleep, my long lost buddies say I'm getting in too deep.
All right, let's try to not talk over each other like it was like crazy.
I am.
Yeah. All right, hey, do you want that audio of this segment?
No.
Coming up?
No. We'll do it in the 11
We're
o'clock
saving that
hour.
for 11?
And we're just play it out. Like, there's
Okay,
one I
yeah,
say.
yeah, I got, they're both 2 minutes.
Right.
One's 2:05, one's 2:28.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, so when we come back from this break, I got to run back downstairs again. Actually, we're trying to work out a remote package for you guys.
What?
I know. Look out.
What planet are we on?
Yeah.
I don't know.
What
Shazam!
year is this?
Well,
golly!
we fired our market manager. I think the message was it was a shot across the bow to
Better do
get off
something.
your asses and get out there.
I like it, Dave.
Our YouTube crowd.
Wow, YouTube is loving it. They are fired up.
Yeah, every now and again you got to do a public execution. You know. They'll all fall in line.
Like your
So
boy.
literally you need to scare everyone.
Like your boy
Yeah,
in
I mean,
Game
it
of Thrones.
sucks though, man. I really loved Steve, man. He was the shit.
Yeah, he was a cool
it sucks
dude.
He's gone.
Yeah.
Yeah, it does suck.
Switching the saline in IV bags with a solution called balanced
All right, well, we won't.
crystalloids
Yeah,
can
we're not
save
playing the sound,
lives,
so
the
go ahead.
study
That's fine.
Right.
Yep.
Okay.
So what did you
1
guys
minute.
discuss while I was gone?
Crystalloids are more
Did y'all
like
talk about Tulane getting trucked?
Shrimp, petroleum.
No, we haven't
you know,
done that yet.
Talk about
That
Yeah,
could
we have not
translate to
talked about that yet.
thousands of
You went to
lives
the
given
game,
how
right?
many IVs
Yeah.
are used.
I had to
It's
bail a
been
little
50
early, though. It
years
was
since the first 911
not very
call.
competitive.
The first
Oh, you
one
sound
first
good.
I mean, they were
in
literally
Alabama in
down
February
10 points, like
1968.
5 minutes in the
Visiting
game,
assistant
never-
professor
they were
at
never even
University of
competitive.
Albany's College of
Cincinnati's
Emergency
pretty good.
Preparedness, David
I was
Turetsky
impressed.
says
It
honoring
was a good
public
crowd.
servants
Good-
and
good
first
turnout.
responders who make the system work is important.
So is Todd
but
gonna
so is
blame you?
acknowledging the very real
Yeah,
challenges
I'm sure he will,
the
'cause
system
he has
still
no ability
faces.
to
He
support
notes
his own
improving the
team.
reliability
Come up
and
with conspiracy
resiliency of the
theories.
system is key to making it work. He cites examples like the system being able to find people calling from inside buildings on their cell phones, accepting text messages
So
when it's
did
unsafe,
Payton do a
and
press
providing
conference, or what did
effective
he do?
He talked with
No,
Herbie
people
and
got, like,
Josh and
yeah.
that and
Health
Joel
update,
and Nick.
Jennifer
Yeah, I mean,
Brown,
how's-
NBC News Radio.
No, he
people
just
have
did it on
audio?
the side.
Yeah, you just do it on the side. Yeah. It's,
We have
that's
audio
where the video look. Yeah.
from like Josh.
This is Dunc and Holder on Sports 1280 New Orleans.
Jeff, unfortunately, your reputation as the torpedo
Great wrestling.
There's
name
no
for him.
reputation
is
as a
not,
torpedo.
is
No.
not going to subside.
There is no reputation. It's Todd Graffanini.
That's enough. One
There's
guy.
no reputation.
One guy, right?
One human being that can't handle the truth.
Well, the truth is Tulane got trucked by Cincinnati last night.
Yes.
That's the truth. It's just
Yes.
what it is.
I believe, as I told Graf the other night, he was giving me grief about going to the Pelicans game. I went to the Pelicans game Monday night to write about Anthony Davis, and he scored 53 points. So if you've got the goods, you deliver.
I guess you didn't torpedo Anthony Davis. So there you go.
Yeah, shocking.
You're back. You're back on the.
It's shocking how that works.
No, but how was the crowd last night? Look, big game was on ESPN. What did Tulane lost by like 30?
Yeah, but you know what? They played very hard. I mean, that's a very tough matchup, I think, for Tulane. Cincinnati's an excellent defensive team, and they're better offensively than they've been in the past. I think this team actually can get to a little further than past Cincinnati teams who tend to wash out early in the tournament. They've got balance. I mean, they lost their stud player, Jacob Evans, early in the game with an ankle injury. I think he had 11 points in the first 5 to 10 minutes of the game. He went out with an ankle injury, and they still poured it on. And it was a great atmosphere. Tulane had a good turnout, a really good student turnout for the game. Unfortunately, they were overmatched by Cincinnati, one of the better teams in the country. But nothing to be ashamed of, I don't think, the way they competed. They just offensively weren't on their game, and that's difficult when you play Cincinnati.
Yeah, I assume Cincinnati you could argue they could be a 2 seed in the NCAA tournament.
Yeah.
I don't
know.
Well,
I think they got Wichita Sunday. That's a big game.
That's probably a make or break for one of the two. But I don't think they'll be 1 seed material. But certainly when you look at the American, Wichita and Cincinnati are, heck, Houston. they've been playing well. I don't know how far they're going to get in the NCAA tournament. They're going to get in, but I'm curious to see with them. Now, as far as LSU basketball, I've kind of lost track. I mean, once they lost to Georgia, honestly, I kind of bailed out. You know me. Like I said, Clyde, I'm riding shotgun on the bandwagon bus because I'm going to be close to the door. But
your hand might be on the door handle.
I'm close to the door. I want to be out in front, but I want to be near the door. And LSU went down on Wednesday, and so they are certainly looking at a tenuous spot where they might have to play in that early first day of the SEC tournament, and that's a tough ask for any team to get through that.
Who would they match up with? Do we know?
I don't think we know yet.
I know that
I'm looking it up right now.
It sounds like Tulane's going to match up with Temple in the first round of the American Athletic Conference.
They played them tough.
They played them well, yes. But Temple's, one of those teams that it wouldn't surprise me if they won 2 or 3 games in the American Athletic Conference the way they play. But that's a good matchup for Tulane, I think, early on. They had them beat them on the road in Philadelphia. So that should be exciting to see how Tulane advances on, because I'm sure. Well, I think they still have another game between now and the tournament. I think they have a game this weekend.
Tulane does, yes. Yes. Well, LSU is going to be taking on Mississippi State. They went down. Amazingly, they made it to overtime on Wednesday. Again, Tremont Waters, of course, doing his Tremont Waters things. A great player, but they kind of fell into the tank. 83-74, they lost to South Carolina. They're taking on Mississippi State, who's also kind of fighting for possible tournament relevancy as far as NCAA. That's their final home game of the regular season. I say that because I still think they've got a pretty good shot at least getting into the NIT. But if they keep losing and losing, they're going to put their spot in a tenuous position. If they lose to Mississippi State and then they go one and done in the SEC tournament, I don't know if they make the NIT.
Don't you think they're in NIT? Don't you think?
Yeah.
If they lose the next 2 games, I don't know.
Yeah, if they lose the next 2 and then they go into the tournament with a losing streak and maybe even win 1, that's still going to be tough. Right now, Jeff, to your point, LSU right now, if the tournament started today, they would be the 11 seed. And then they would end up playing the number 14 seed, the last team, which would be Vanderbilt.
So they would be in that first day of games.
That'd be in that first. Yeah, that's that. Okay. That literally is the first round games. And they'd be the last game of the day likely. So they would be playing at anywhere from 8 to 9. And then the winner of game 2 would play the 6th seed, which is which would end up being Mississippi State right now. So, yeah, you're right. So at this point, you're talking about playing that first day, and then you're talking about to even make a miraculous run, they would have to play every day of the tournament. So that's going to be a tough ask. But to Jeff's credit, the NIT right now is they're officially out of the NCAA tournament unless they go on and win the conference tournament championship. But the NIT right now is another bubble that they're sitting on, that if they don't win those last 2 games, especially against State, and it's going to be a tough ask.
Well, if you beat Mississippi State, I think that would solidify their chances at an NIT bid, because they're 21-9, 9-8 in the conference. They are being considered for the NCAA tournament, and so that's one more win. And I think that would be enough to get you there. But if you keep losing it, look, the fact that we're even talking about LSU getting into the NIT, I think, is still an accomplishment in and of itself. We had 0 expectations for this team this year, 0. And the fact that we're at least talking about it, and they kept our attention span for as long as they did,
yes,
I think that's a credit to what Will Wade's doing. And we're all still in this mode of they're going to be good next year. We are going to expect them to be good next year. And at least there's going to be some sort of momentum from Will Wade year 1 to Will Wade year 2.
And I think a large part of that success, in addition to Will Wade, is Tremont Waters. I mean, how many games has he won with last-second shots this year?
Plenty.
It's remarkable.
Yeah. Plenty.
So I think the recruiting, what Will Wade's done, of course, we know there's still a little bit of skepticism there, or a black cloud, if you want to call it that, out there about what's going to happen in the future because LSU's been linked to this FBI probe, and obviously there's a report in Yahoo about Will Wade's recruiting. But I think all that is down the road, and right now you should be excited about where LSU basketball is going. Because, and look, I'm excited to see Lafayette coming to town here in the Sun Belt Conference tournament. Clyde's alma mater, Nichols State. I think Lafayette and Nichols could pull off an upset in the NCAA tournament if they get in. I wouldn't want to play either one of those teams early on.
Well, if you're looking at the bracketology, at least for Nichols, they might be playing in that first in game, 16 seed. Look, if they're 16 seed,
They're
they
not gonna
win a
win.
game.
But it depends on if there's some upsets in these tournaments that somebody gets in below Nichols, and then all of a sudden you
Nichols
end up
has over 21, 22, and 9. I mean, it's a great record, but I mean, again, as we've talked about, just like Lopez talks about,
2 minutes.
You know, it's very RPI heavy. It's very, where does your conference RPI is? That's a lot of things people don't take into account is where is your conference among the rest of the conferences in basketball, what their standing is. If your conference has a much better footing, such as if you're like the Sun Belt, maybe some teams like in the OVC, things like that, you can be pretty good. But if you're in really the bottom half, like your South, sometimes Southland is in that, and then other really, really SWAC conferences.
I was about to say SWAC.
Yeah, the SWAC. It's tough to not have to get out of that first four. And if Nichols gets it, they'll play another 16. You never know.
Well, I'm curious to see where UL Lafayette gets seeded, or if they get upset in the tournament, in their conference tournament, if they get upset, what kind of chances do they have of getting an at-large bid? They're 24-4, RPI of 35. Wow. That's pretty impressive.
Yeah, if they don't get an at-large, there will be, not riots in the street, but there will be a lot of questions to the committee.
I love RPI McGee here, by the way.
For sure.
I love me some RPI. I love me some prop bets at the Combine. I love me some RPI. I love it, even though Lopez
40 seconds.
says I'm outdated in my RPI.
Yeah, Lopez called Larry out.
Too bad. I'm archaic. Our number 1 is up. Our number 2 is on the way. We will shift gears a good bit. Head over to the NFL Scouting Combine. You'll hear from Sean Payton. You'll hear from Darius Guice. And we'll talk prospects and some Saints news, some tidbits. We'll bring you all of that as our own Herbie Teope and Josh Katzenstein doing some great reporting up in Indianapolis. So we'll discuss all that. Coming up next, Sports 1280, NOLA.com, the iHeartRadio app. Dunc and Holder.
Yeah, at the game last night, had a guy come up to me, says he loves the show and loves Clyde. My worst nightmare.
Are you serious?
Yes. He goes, love your work, love the show, really love Clyde. I'm like, what is going on? Is this a plant?
Yeah,
family members.
Some random unknown. Yeah,
Mr. Verdan.
All right, hey guys.
Thanks, Dad.
Pull out your schedules.
Thanks, Mom. Thanks, Dad.
March 16th, Friday, March
infiltrated.
16th,
It is
the
now
day before
over.
St. Patty's Day.
What's that?
March 16th, March 1-6, the day before St. Patty's Day. From 5 to 7 this is what they're looking to try to do.
Okay.
Friday, March 16th, from 5 to 7 p.m. at the Troubadour Hotel, a crawfish. They're doing crawfish boils every Friday, and it's up on the rooftop bar, the Troubadour, which is about 5 blocks from here.
Okay.
Just a note, I'm in London that weekend.
Okay.
I mean, I'll be in London that day.
All right. Well,
Just let you know.
Yeah, that's what we're trying to figure out.
Okay.
So,
I'll be
Larry,
there.
how about
Larry allowed to be. I'm just letting you know I'll be gone that weekend.
Okay.
But if that matters.
So, all right. So Friday, March 16th, 5 to 7 p.m. Larry or Clyde, you think y'all can maybe do that?
I can make it. I
Yeah.
don't see why I wouldn't be able to.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, I think I'm pretty free too, so there's nothing going on.
So, all right. So we're waiting to hear. We got to go see Mike Hudson. He's down on the second floor. That's why I keep running up and down.
Yeah.
So, yeah, we're gonna look at that. We're gonna try to find out what the talent fees are as well, because you're supposed to get paid.
Right.
Gots to get paid.
Let's get that paper.
Yeah. So, all right. Yeah, I didn't. If y'all were both busy, we couldn't move forward. So if one of y'all's available, then cool. We can move forward on and we'll see what's going on. All right. Cool beans.
Yeah.
as a quarterback, of course.
Sweet.
NFL
Good
Network's
job,
Peter
guys.
Schrager reporting that many teams want Jackson to test as a wide receiver. I'm Deb Carson.
Walgreens has good news for anyone managing diabetes. We've got your back. That's right. Walgreens pharmacists are here to consult with you in person and answer any questions you may have about new and existing medications. You can even get free advice from our trusted experts day and night at Walgreens.com or the mobile app. Walgreens has all major brands of diabetes testing supplies like Accu-Check and Walgreens Trimetrics. That's not just good news, it's great news. Stop by and talk to your Walgreens pharmacist today. Walgreens, trusted since 1901.
You count on your air conditioning to work perfectly.
There are actually
and to
people
make
out there
your family
listening.
comfortable.
Yeah.
So if you ever have a problem, you want
If
someone
anything,
who
go.
will be there to help right away. At Burkhardt Air Conditioning and Heating, that's
Russian.
the commitment we've made to our
Brewskis.
customers for over 25 years. Our NATE
No,
certified
those are
technicians
the violent
provide
ones.
emergency service for any type and any
Yeah.
brand of cooling system. If you need help anytime,
Yeah, absolutely.
call
You think
us.
you get one
We
thing,
promise
bait
to
and
get
switch,
you up
man.
and running
Bait
again
and
quickly
switch.
and professionally. And if you're thinking about an upgrade, right now, we'll help you save with quality cooling equipment from Amana. These systems come with incredible warranties, and we have 5 years interest-free financing available now. Plus, our Amana brand HVAC systems are highly efficient. With Burkhardt's 25% energy reduction guarantee, you'll continue saving on utility bills for years to come. Whether it's an emergency repair or a brand new cooling system, we're here to help when you need us. Trust Burkhardt Air Conditioning and Heating. Visit acpromise.com.
President Trump is talking protection. He wants to protect U.S. steel and aluminum with tariffs on imports.
We're going to build our steel industry back, and we're going to build our aluminum industry back.
During a White House meeting this week with executives of both industries, Trump said the package of tariffs will be ready next week.
It'll be 25% for steel. It'll be 10% for aluminum. And it'll be for a long period of time.
Trump says the tariffs should stop what he says has been massive product dumping by other countries for many years, but he acknowledges it could raise prices, and critics say it could cost jobs and start a trade war too. Prices are already shooting up for lumber, partly because of a previously imposed Trump administration 20% tariff on Canadian lumber, and that's expected to make home building even more expensive this year, adding to the forest fires and hurricanes last year and a shortage of rail cars and trucks to move the lumber.
Good luck, Larry.
The big three U.S. automakers all took sales dives in February.
That's what I heard.
GM sales numbers were up by nearly
we have it written
7%
down.
compared to last
Authorized
year. With
signature.
Buick
Yeah,
sales
I'm telling you,
slightly
go get that shit
increasing, just
notarized.
over 1%. Ford
It is a
U.S.
legal
sales for
document.
February dropped by 6.9% over the same period. Its F-Series, though, had its best February in 18 years. At FCA, there was a 1% sales decline
Best
in
laid
February.
plan.
Their Jeep
Hey, you know, we
was
got
up, though, by
nixed on the
12%. Elisa Z,
window
NBC
plan.
News Radio.
One of the biggest threats to the U.S. economy
Apparently,
is
they think we're gonna be
debt.
too
So
loud.
says Federal Reserve Chair
We're gonna
Jerome
disrupt it.
Powell.
Let's
He
get
told
in
the
there,
Senate
see
Banking
what's
Committee this
I
week
agree.
student debt could undermine
wouldn't
broader
pick fights
economic
until we
growth
know
over
fight.
time.
Oh, I'm not
He
picking a
also
fight, I'm
supported
just
making
saying.
it easier to
I heard
erase
that,
student
Justin.
debt and bankruptcy. A new survey says the majority of parents don't have nearly enough money saved to pay for their kids'
But I
college.
love picking
More than
fights. Yeah, dude, you're never, like, this is your
Not
fault.
gonna hear about
This
this
is your
Say they
fault.
have
You
less
could have
than
said no.
$10,000 in
The wrong
total
person to have to be
annual
have to be
average
trying to
for
turn down.
college
Dude,
students.
like,
The College Board
Larry,
says
I'm
it's
sorry,
almost
but this is your fault,
$26,000 a year.
man. You could have said, you just could have been like, no,
Consumer
I'm not
and
going to do
business
this.
news.
Y'all stop being
Trouble
crazy.
NBC News Radio.
Because clearly
It's not gonna
that
happen.
is never
30
going to
seconds.
stop. That is never going to stop.
It's not going to happen.
I'm glad
You don't have to worry about
Ooh,
it. I wouldn't even
man.
worry about
I think
it.
it's time to
boy.
head back in.
Okay. Can we come back?
Sure. Hey, be careful getting out of the boat.
It's a kayak, Dad.
Thank God I didn't watch the
I'm
Louisville
gonna
game.
return the kayak.
Yeah.
Can we
That was
walk
brutal.
home?
Yeah.
Did y'all see the highlights?
It's a short ferry
No,
from your neighborhood to your naturehood.
Of course, Clyde sent it, of course.
Discovertheforest.org to
Clyde
find a
being
neighborhood
the
park or green space
devil.
near you.
So everybody loves me.
Devil, you know you're gonna smoke a turd in hell for that.
Smoke a turd now.
Settle down, kids.
All right, don't make that sound ever again. Stop it.
Cut the mic.
Sound like some creepy leprechaun.
Dunc and Holder, hour number 2 on a Friday, March 2nd. Larry Holder, Jeff Duncan, Clyde Verdun here with you at our NOLA.com Times-Picayune studios. If you want to get out and about the day and you don't want to be stuck in your office and you want to listen to us, go hit the iHeartRadio app and just go around town. It's a gorgeous day, gorgeous afternoon, going to be a gorgeous weekend. Awesome for anything going on get outdoors. You go to Alex Box Stadium, go to Grill Field Turchin Stadium.
Rock and Roll Marathon Sunday.
I'm not running it.
You're not going to win it?
I'm not going to
let somebody else win it?
I'm not going to win it. You were trying to talk me into doing the Crescent City Classic. That's too far for me to run.
I think we should all do it. Clyde, you're in. Let's do it. Let's have a team Duncan Holder.
Unlike Larry and his complete averse to being able to block peer pressure, I'm going to say no. I'm not going to do this.
What's the problem? Why can't we all as a team? Well,
I want to train, dude. I want to be good at it.
We'll take our time with it. We'll, walk, run. Kind of just have fun.
Do we have to dress in costumes if we do?
Yeah, we've got to wear giant fleur-de-lis.
I'll dress as a hot dog. Clyde could be the mustard.
Yeah, absolutely.
One of the great benefits of running the Crescent City Classic is there's beer along the route. People give out beer. It's classic New Orleans, and I thought that might appeal to you.
Wait a minute.
Reconsider. It is one of the only runs I can think of in America where you get beer on the run.
That's because people, they'll walk it and it'll have a great time with it.
Yeah. Exactly. Although I have a question for you, Larry. If you ever ran a marathon and then, or just run, not a marathon, but maybe let's say a 5K. Let's make it real easy. And you saw the monster people handing out monster cans, on the route, what would you do?
I would grab them and shotgun them.
I figured that.
I'd have to.
I'm glad that's the answer. I
might win the race.
Now, look, people, you want to act like I maybe never ran 100 yards in my life. I used to run all the time. I used to run 5Ks and do all this stuff, but I got bored with it. That's why I play tennis. So that's
you're a tennis player. Everybody's got the thing.
Boring. It's fine. I used to be actually pretty good at it, but I'm a tennis guy. That's me. That's my thing. You're the runner. Jeff is the runner.
Yeah, although my running is suffering right now. I got to get back into it. But what I like about running is, say when we travel, when we go to Saints road games, I love being able to go for a run in another city, and it helps you kind of see the city. It's a good way to, you're on the ground, you run, kind of go through different neighborhoods. I'm looking forward to running in London.
Oh, yeah.
Running in Paris.
Yeah.
I'm looking forward to that. It's a great way to kind of experience the city and get a workout in at the same time.
Wife and I are looking at getting into the biking culture here in the city.
Yes,
biking around the area.
It's much more bike friendly, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
I love hearing a story from Zach Streif, and he says that he's ridden in a bike lane before, and that New Orleanians don't understand that actually is a bike lane, and he feared for his life that people were going to run him over. And he's not wrong.
He's not wrong.
He's not wrong that people go in the bike lane and no regard for human life. They'll truck you. Even if you're on a blue bike, you think you're safe, you think it's no.
Well, I have to admit, I'm guilty of. I've ridden in a bike lane to turn, but there's nobody in the bike lane.
Well, that's the thing.
Is that okay?
Yes, you. And what's crazy about this is that looking into getting into biking here in the city, you look at the bike laws in the area and there are a lot of biking groups here in the city, which is fantastic because it helps out. If you're interested in it, want to do it, it's awesome because it gives you all the rules and regulations of being a biker in the city of New Orleans. You can, if you are driving a car, you can drive in the bike lane, but only in the last I think 60 or 30 yards approaching a turn.
That's what I do.
One way. Yes, but if you are driving on driving in a bike lane for many distances, that's illegal. You can't do that. That is a bike lane.
Clyde would know the driving laws.
Well,
that's just something Clyde would be a stickler for.
Am I right about this? Aren't bikers supposed to adhere to regular traffic laws? And they don't. That's what people get upset with bikers. And I'm a big believer and advocate for biking. But there's a lot of people that just run right through stop signs. They run right through, and they're not supposed to.
Yeah, if you're a biker in this city, you have to adhere to all of the laws of the road as if you are driving your car. It's
but
the same
people
thing.
Don't.
And
that's what frustrates people.
And that's what gets people in trouble, specifically if you're not following rules such as you have to stop at stoplights, you have to stop at stop signs, you can't go through intersections if it's not green, you can't do any of that stuff.
What about riding a bike the wrong way down a one-way? That
also
happens all
too.
The time.
Or riding on the sidewalk. The biggest thing, you can't ride on sidewalks here in New Orleans, specifically in CBD and other areas. You have to be on an official bike lane or on the street. You have to ride your bike to the farthest right of the street going with traffic. And then if you want to make a left turn at an intersection, I learned this. There's something called the Copenhagen turn, which is
wait, where?
Yes. So this is called the Copenhagen turn is if you go to a four-way.
Random facts. Where do you get this stuff?
It's amazing, right?
Stored up
you
there
get to
somewhere.
a four-way stop and you need to cross an intersection. Basically, if you're like let's say you're at like Poydras and Loyola, like you drive to one end, you cross over on the road, but then you stop, turn your bike, and then you go with the other way of traffic. Like if I want to take a left on Poydras, I'd go up, stop, make the turn, take left, and then go with the rest of traffic up Poydras.
Wait, that sounds like a Louisiana left.
Whatever.
Is that what that is?
Yeah, something like that, I guess so.
Yeah.
From what it says, it's a Copenhagen turn.
Our recreation segment here on Dunc and Holder, talking running and bicycling. Next,
tennis.
We'll talk about mountain climbing and
Copenhagen turn. I learned something today. I bet a lot of people learned something today.
That's what we try to do, man. And this is how I run, slowly, with a lot of flaps.
I could see Clyde running to the finish line to this song in a mustard costume in the Crescent City Classic. Just dragging, he's sweating everywhere. Mustard is oozing from his body, and then he falls short of the finish line.
Not actual mustard. I don't want mustard on my body.
No, we would make that happen.
I don't
Real
why?
mustard on your body.
I think running like tights on Clyde, like
no,
leotard kind of
no.
thing.
I think we could do that.
No,
Dunc and Holder tight.
No, I'm going to say no. Because I called out people who wore those during Mardi Gras. I don't want to wear those. No banana hammocks.
You can wear like a Cam Newton romper and run the Crescent City Classic.
I would do that. Could I get the shades and the hat? I would totally do that.
I will certainly let you do that.
I would do that.
Interesting tidbit, because I'm off of Recreation Friday here. I mentioned it was a beautiful day, and all of a sudden we're talking about Denmark and Copenhagen. I don't even know what's going on here. So, interesting tidbit. Just saw from Arden Key.
Oh,
he
what
had
he got?
He had the weigh-in today.
Okay.
And of course, he was pushing 275, 280 at one point at LSU. He checked in today 6'4" and 7'8", so nearly 6'5", 238 pounds.
That's what he needs to be.
That's what he needs to be. And we've talked about often, and everyone who's a draft pundit, the curiosity surrounding Arden Key is huge at the Combine. And I'm curious to see how he handles the Q&A just with reporters, because they're going to be asking him all the questions, and how open he is there. I'm not saying he necessarily has to be open with anyone in the media if he doesn't want to, but he better be open with the coaches and the GMs when he does those meetings, because his docket's going to be completely full, Jeff.
Yeah, and I'm sure he's been advised by his agent. I don't know who his agent is, but that's the way you deal with it. You come clean, be honest, and teams will always make exceptions with a player as talented as Arden Key. I mean, Arden Key has a asset that is highly valued in the NFL, getting after the quarterback. And so he's going to get drafted on that potential alone, but people want someone that's going to be available and reliable, and that was something that he struggled with late in his career at LSU. Can he put that to rest in some of these meetings? I think it's a top priority for him and his camp.
Some of the issues with Key, and this is going to be an apples to oranges a little bit comparison, but I almost feel like it's a similar situation that Randy Gregory went through. Remember him?
Yes.
Lots of talent. People thought he might be a top 10 pick. Similar position, linebacker, maybe a pass rusher. And he dropped to the second round. And, of course, a litany of problems followed him into the NFL. I'm not saying that Arden Key has the same issues that Randy Gregory has. I'm just saying the questions surrounding one player and two player, it's something that Arden Key, it's going to be a similar process of where he needs to answer them both in workouts. He needs to answer that he's dropped the weight and back into super freak mode, and he's got to be able to answer those questions in the interview. And you got to make sure that he passes the medical, because that's the big thing here, the medical checks, and that might be something of question because he dealt with some injuries last year at LSU.
Yeah, and I think it'll be interesting to see what he runs. I'm curious to see what kind of 40 time he clocks. That'll be big for him. I think he's going to shine in the agility drills because he's got such great change of direction. He's a unique talent, And I don't know this. Clyde, you might know this, but was Arden Key a big time recruit? Was he? I don't remember when they signed him thinking, boy, they've got the next another first round draft. I don't remember him being like an elite 5-star guy. All of a sudden, he showed up and was getting after the quarterback pretty early on in his career. He's from Georgia, I believe.
Yeah, Arden Key. Yeah, Arden's originally from Georgia. He was a 4-star recruit out of out of Lithonia. I think the thing about Arden, just as it is really about players of his size and stature, because I would say one of the things, we talked about this when we were talking about the Vikings, we were talking about Danielle Hunter. The thing about Danielle Hunter is that when you were next to him, he was physically imposing. When you're around Arden Key, not to say that that's any different, Arden Key is a different kind of specimen, but one that you can easily see how he could be a defensive disruptor and force, because he's long, he's fast, he's quick, especially off the ball when the ball snapped. Sometimes his first step is absolutely overwhelming. It's amazing. But I think the thing it's like he's 6'5", 6'6", he should be in that 230 range. So is he an end? Is he a linebacker? Do you play him at both? Is he a hybrid type guy? Do you just want him rushing the ball? That's the thing about him. So I think that was the thing. It was, how do you take his talent and fit him to the scheme that you want to run? I think that was the biggest thing I think Dave Aranda wanted too, was specifically, how am I going to use this guy to the best of his abilities with the talents and gifts that he has?
Well, also, you got to wonder if he still has that speed. You've got to, I mean, we could talk about, we assume he's going to be great in these agility drills, but he certainly wasn't great in agility last year at LSU with the fluctuations of weight, injuries, and all that. He's got to prove he can still do that, and so I think that's another question mark right there. Why don't we take a break right here on the show? We're going to stick with basically Saints tidbits, NFL scouting combine throughout the rest of the show. If you want to get involved, 504-260-1280. A free agent that we alluded to yesterday ended up visiting with the Saints in Indianapolis. We'll bring you that. Is Taysom Hill the next big thing? Sean Payton was asked about that. We'll get his answer there. And, oh, by the way, a certain quarterback's agent met with a certain New Orleans Saints team.
Well, you're teasing away. I like it.
Tease.
That's what I've heard about you.
I'm such a tease.
You are.
I like it.
And everybody knows it.
Hey. Teasing can get you somewhere in life.
Do we need to call your wife?
How do you think I scored her?
Fair.
There you go. Tease it for 3 more seconds.
Coverage.
Damn right I did. Tease it. Teasing. I'm now a flutter. Let's go to break. Sports 1280 NOLA.com, the iHeartRadio app. Dunc and Holder.
Did y'all see that Luckburger play LeBron made last night?
No.
Wait, what?
The Luckburger play made?
No.
Didn't see that? Like he tried to knife between like 2 or 3 defenders.
Oh yeah, when he
whipped behind his back,
through his legs. It was like, amazing.
It was like trying to
do that. Dude? Because they did that one. They spliced it. They did that one last night, and then they did the one where Dwayne Wade was selling the team, and he went through a dude's leg, and he was under the basket. All you had to do was lay it up, and he was like...
changed the seafood industry. JM founded the Latrim companies, Intralocks, Laper Stair, Latrim Machinery, and Latrim Machine Shop. The people of these companies have patented hundreds of new inventions used around the world. If you have good ideas and want to help create the next Latrim innovation, visit Latrim.com for a full listing of positions.
Oh, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, he's like talking away, rambling about something. The next thing I know, I booked a 6 a.m. flight from Paris. I'm like, 6 a.m.
Kodak Black is still raking in success despite his current legal troubles. The 20-year-old's track Roll in Peace went platinum while he currently sits in a Florida jail following a January arrest on gun and drug charges. The incarceration stemmed from a raid on his home by law enforcement based on
Todd
an
reached out to me
Instagram
and said
video
that he's
of
trying
him
to
showing
get
off
Mark Ingram
marijuana
or Cam
and
Jordan
guns
to
with
go
his
take a
toddler
fishing trip
son around.
for
He
a
has
video.
pled
Oh, that would be so awesome.
Yeah. I mean, I know Deuce would definitely go. I mean, Deuce doesn't have the star power now those guys have, but like he's a big fisherman.
Original
He
studio
definitely could get
album
Deuce.
since 2005. In a recent interview, Keith Richards
He
said
is.
the band
He's already
spent
done one,
a
I think, with
total of
him.
about
Oh, he's
3
already done
weeks
one?
in
Yeah,
the
I mean,
studio
well,
over
they
the
reached
past
out.
2 years.
I don't know if
The
they ever
guitarist
actually
warned
went, but I know
fans
they
that the group's
touched
next
base.
studio effort is still in the early stages.
Hondo's in
but
like
promised that
Guatemala
it
right now.
will happen.
Yeah, I remember
Sail fishing. He's a total boondoggle.
Randy
Some guy came
Travis,
up to
Alan
him,
Jackson,
said he's the
Vince
biggest
Gill, and Chris
beer importer
Stapleton are
from
being
Guatemala or
profiled by
something.
GQ
So he's down
for
there on some
fashion
kind of
portfolio
Guatemalan
called the
junket.
Sultans of Twang. The spring 2018 issue is out now. Brooklyn's own Jay-Z has been named the richest musician.
It's a hard knock.
Passing
It's
Diddy
the rock.
for the title. It's
Holla.
the rapper's empire is valued
What is
at
going on?
$1 million.
What is
Hov
Dave
did that, so
started?
hopefully you won't have to go through that.
When I was little, I didn't talk for a long
Riddle me
time.
this, riddle me that.
I was sensitive to lights and
What the hell is
sound.
This is how Larry raps. Riddle me this, riddle me that. This is how Larry raps.
Sometimes
sounds like a rap.
I did the same thing.
I know, right? That was actually really good. Thank you.
Until
Jeff and I
one
could be
day,
in
I found
the,
out I had autism.
what is it? The rap
My
nicks?
family got me help.
Rap skins.
Slowly,
Rap
I learned how
skins.
to live with it better.
This is gonna be Jeff. The hip, the hop,
The lead
the heavy,
rapper.
the heavy did it.
I'd rather be with Dave and Tattoo Santa.
You don't stop rocking to the bang bang boogie. Say up jump the boogie to the rhythm of the boogie to beat.
This is Dunc and Holder on Sports 1280, New Orleans.
Some tidbits Saints-wise, as far as player personnel. The Saints had a chance to catch up with free agent safety Kurt Coleman in Indianapolis. He was released by the Panthers earlier this week. Figured they might have some sort of interest, and it sounds like the Saints aren't the only ones. Our good friend Catherine Terrell from ESPN, she's also reporting that the Bengals have met up with Kurt Coleman as well, so he's in Indianapolis basically job hunting, which if you're going to go somewhere to do it, that's the place to do it, and that's the time to do it. Also, the Saints and fullback veteran John Kuhn have mutual interest in a reunion, according to our own Herbie Teope. Of course, John Kuhn went on IR early last year. Zach Line was the fullback for much of last year. Played pretty well, but John Kuhn stuck around the team. There was talk that John Kuhn, some point after football, maybe want to get into the scouting department as far as the Saints. But if he's ready to go still, he's still a viable fullback. If they want to bring him back, I would have no problems with that. He's a good locker room guy, good veteran guy, can still get it done.
Yeah, versatile player, can catch the ball in the backfield, which is always important in the Saints offensive system. Yeah, I would think they would want him back. I mean, they don't use the fullback 10, 12 snaps a game, something like that?
Not too often. Well, if you need a Zach Line fullback dive for a touchdown, you could do it. John Kuhn still.
They love that, don't they? The Saints love that 4th and 1, 3rd and 1 fullback dive.
It works. I don't think
Belly
I
play.
can't remember the last time I've seen it not work. It works a lot.
Have you not watched the Les Miles coach team?
Well, this is a Sean Payton coach team.
I'm just saying.
They're the best
Want to
team.
see it not work? That's not a bad place to start.
Well, that is the reason why Les is doing a podcast and Sean Payton still coaching.
The Saints are very successful, it seems, at getting short yardage conversions. We always talk about the quarterback sneak and the Drew jumping over the top, sticking the ball out, extending his reach. And then other teams, it just drives me berserk how hard they make getting a foot. It's not that hard.
Also, one thing that we did not touch on, Josh Katzenstein had a chance to catch up with Jeff Ireland.
Yes.
Wrote a story about that. And Jeff was not shy about his intentions for his future. He, quote unquote, absolutely hopes to be a general manager again one day, but here's his quote. I'm not in a hurry. Josh had a chance to catch up with him on Wednesday. I told myself when I got to New Orleans that I was going to help this team build. I'd have to really think twice about leaving the New Orleans Saints before we win a Super Bowl, but sometimes those jobs come and you can't turn them down. Jeff, I've always, not always, but when Jeff Ireland was hired, there was always that possibility of maybe at some point in the next few years, if a team comes calling for Jeff Ireland to be a GM, that maybe Mickey Loomis gets elevated into a team president type of role, as far, just like say maybe a Rich McKay like in Atlanta. I think they would fight to keep Jeff Ireland. He's done such a great job with the college department. I think he's certainly helped build his resume to becoming a GM again after what happened in Miami, where he kind of went down in flames in Miami.
Yeah, I think he actually is very happy here because he's not under the microscope and he can just do the scouting work, which is really his bread and butter. At heart, he's a scout. So I think he's been a great addition because that's not Mickey Loomis's strength. Mickey Loomis came up from the business ops side of a football organization, and that's his strength. And then you add in Jeff Ireland. I think Jeff Ireland will be the next general manager of the Saints. I think at some point Mickey Loomis is going to move upstairs, become more, like you said, a president like a Rich McKay. And I think Jeff Ireland will stay here because I think he's very happy here and be the GM. And I think that'd be a great boon for the Saints because I think what he's done speaks for itself. His ability to scout, not only find prospects, but fit the system that the Saints run. And that's been a problem in the past is they've gotten some good players, but they don't really fit what Sean Payton wants to do or Dennis Allen wants to do. Jeff Ireland seems to be a perfect scout as far as marrying personnel to scheme.
It's not that he just did it once with the 16 class. He did it twice with the 17 class. And so you could say one time, the pieces fell. They kind of got lucky. You don't get lucky twice with so many picks. Just look at the 16 draft. Michael Thomas. You look at Von Bell. You look at Sheldon Rankins. You look at David Onyemata. All of those pieces are big-time pieces. 2017, we've documented so many times. And curious to see how Alex Anzalone responds. Curious to see how Trey Hendrickson responds. Al-Qadim Muhammad. And we're talking about those three guys specifically because maybe the Saints might want to upgrade at linebacker. Maybe the Saints want to upgrade at defensive end. We talked about that so many times. But are the pieces out there for them to actually do that, specifically at defensive end? I don't know if the pieces are out there, if they're going to have to lean on any of that.
Yeah, no, guys, and I was really going to ask your opinion specifically about Jeff Ireland and how he goes about scouting. And then on that level, what do you think that it is about the GM role in the NFL and how, in your opinion, it's changed from really the early 80s and 90s to what it is now? Because another person that I think about specifically in this role is Ryan Pace. Goes to Chicago, really highly touted with the Saints, with what he was able to do, and now he's not that you would imagine that he's in any kind of spot, but
he might be in trouble.
Yeah.
If they don't get it done this year, he's probably out.
And just specifically your guys' thoughts on that, because Jeff Ireland goes from a really tough situation in Miami. He comes back to New Orleans, and again, the fact that the Saints haven't lost anybody in the front office is huge, but just the differences in just how hard that position is, specifically if you go to an organization and not have the pieces around that could help you specifically go about bringing together the best team you can.
Well, I think it goes to show you GMs come in all different shapes and sizes. I mean, Mickey Loomis has been a successful general manager, and he's not some scouting guru. Does he know what he's talking about when he's doing some of this? Sure. But say someone like Ryan Pace, he made his hay as starting at the bottom. I remember they telling us how he went to like a job fair and they found him. And he worked his way from the bottom ground floor all the way up to the Saints, and now he's a general manager. And sometimes those scouting general managers, sometimes they work, sometimes they don't. I don't think you see a lot of GMs in the league that are maybe like Mickey. I think there are more, say, scouting GMs per se than money men. Would you agree with that?
Well, yeah. I mean, I know that like Marty Herney was a former sports writer. If you remember, Dave Gettleman was a business side guy. I'm just thinking out loud. There are more than you think. But Ryan Pace was a former player. I mean, Ryan Pace, he didn't play in the NFL, but he was a college football player at Eastern Illinois, which I'm sure appealed to Sean Payton because of the Eastern Illinois background. But he played college football. I mean, so he does have an athletic background when he came in. You're right, though. He was working when I first met Ryan Pace. He was working in the marketing department as like an intern, just a guy out there, and rose up through the ranks through hard work. Same thing with Omar Khan, who's kind of the number 2 in Pittsburgh.
Raider pride, yo.
Yes, and Tulane graduate. But Omar was a coaching intern with the Saints and worked his way up, and now is in line. He'll be the next general manager of the Steelers when Kevin Colbert finally moves on.
Yeah, he's highly respected around the league, absolutely. All right, let's take a phone call, and then we will take a break right here on the show. 504-260-1280 is the number if you want to get involved. Let's head to NOLA East, our good buddy DJ. Hey, DJ, thanks for calling the show. What you got?
Larry, Jeff. Look, I had a question about free agency. You know, one of the main things that is mentioned that the Saints are looking for is maybe a defensive end. I understand that Sheldon Richardson got released by the Jets. Do y'all think that the Saints would be looking at him and thinking maybe that they could, change his mindset because he's had, problems in the past? And I was just wondering because I understand the guy is still a great talent, and I just wanted to get y'all's ideas on that.
Hey, DJ, appreciate the phone call. I think you might be referring to Muhammad Wilkerson because they traded Sheldon Richardson
to the Seahawks,
and he's a free agent, but they did just release Muhammad Wilkerson, and he was in that same draft class as Cam Jordan and the J.J. Watts and the Robert Quinns, and he was a good player. Then he got paid, and then it all went to holy hell and wasn't playing anymore. I think he's someone you look at.
Yeah,
I think you certainly look at him. Now, how much do you want to pay him, and what kind of effort? You got to certainly the character question. You certainly got to look into because I still think he's a capable player.
And Robert Quinn, we talked about him. I mean, I think they're going to look at those kind of guys, like a veteran that's going to step in and play right away. I don't think they're in the mode of let's draft somebody and put the training wheels on him and hopefully he pans out in 3 years. I think they want a guy that can step in and be in the lineup opposite Cam Jordan right away and effective because this team is in win-now mode with Drew Brees at 39.
I'll just put it to you this way. Take it for what it is. It's a headline on Wilkerson from the New York Post, posted a day ago. Muhammad Wilkerson became a disgrace the second he quit. So you probably have some question marks there for Muhammad Wilkerson. So, all right, let's take a break right here on the show. We get back. Been teasing it. We'll hear from Sean Payton. We'll also hear from Darius, Guice in the final two segments of the show from the NFL Scouting Combine. So come on back. Sports 1280, NOLA.com, the iHeartRadio app. Dunc and Holder.
We're going to miss you for almost an hour.
Your forecast on Sports 1280, New Orleans.
This report is brought to you by Compassion International.
From the Fox 8 Weather Center, I'm meteorologist Bruce Katz. Get ready for one of the nicest weekends in a while. We are expecting today mostly sunny skies, low humidity, temperature in the upper 60s to near 70. Now tonight, grab a jacket. Lower 40s on the North Shore, lower 50s south, and for your Saturday and Sunday, just absolutely beautiful. Sunny skies, daytime highs around 68 to 72. Overnight lows, some 40s on the North Shore, 50 south, and it looks like it will be a mostly dry weekend for all to enjoy. From the Fox 8 Weather Center, I'm meteorologist Bruce Katz with your Weather Authority forecast.
For just 5 quarters a day, you can sponsor a child through Compassion International. It's pocket change to you. It's life-changing for a child in need. Be part of the change. Become a sponsor now at compassion.com/radio. That's compassion.com/radio.
They got their coach back last night at number 22. Arizona defeated Stanford 75-67 as Sean Miller made his return after a one-game absence. Miller given a standing ovation by the fans of the McHale Center to show support for him. Miller subjected to accusations of cheating in an ESPN report.
I have never arranged or directed payment or any improper benefits to
It's pulmonary again.
or prospect.
Oh, yes, I mean those payments to those kids, man.
And I never will.
He did not coach the Wildcats' overtime loss at Oregon on Saturday. Elsewhere, DeAndre Hunter hit a three-pointer as time expired. Number 1 Virginia capped a remarkable comeback for a 67-66 victory over Louisville. Number 15 Michigan staved off an upset bid from Iowa to advance to the quarterfinals of the Big Ten tournament with a 77-71 overtime victory at Madison Square Garden in New York. In the NBA, among the games last night, the Lakers beat the Heat 131-113. The Sixers stopped the Cavs 108-97. That's sports. Frank Arity, NBC News Radio.
The Coastal Conservation Association is a local nonprofit organization dedicated to protecting Louisiana's marine resources. The West Bank chapter of the CCA will be holding a fundraising banquet at NOLA Motorsports Park on March 29th at 6 p.m. Tickets are only $75 a person, which includes an open bar, dinner, and a one-year CCA membership. For table and ticket info, call Katie Laurent at 225-952-9200. Again, that's 225-952-9200. Or go to ccalouisiana.com.
It's your home. This is where you talk the home teams. Sports 1280, New Orleans.
Let's hear from Sean Payton. Josh Katzenstein, Herbie Teope had a chance to catch up with him, and he's in a new role. He's part of the competition committee, and that's basically where they sit down, go over rules, potential rule changes, and it seems like he's enjoying it. And Jeff, some of the major rule changes that are being bantered about right now, the catch rule and defensive pass interference. And while you were stuck in, I guess, passport, let's say, heaven.
Purgatory?
Purgatory. We won't call it hell. But PJ Williams, I saw on Twitter yesterday, retweeted the suggestion and it was a tweet from Mark Maskey from the Washington Post about chilling out on pass interference penalties. And I would say it's appropriate for PJ Williams to do that because you and me have seen him in person 1, 2, at least 3 times last year get toasted on deep pass interference penalties.
Yeah, I mean, it'll be interesting to see because the way the Saints play, they play that kind of Seattle handsy, disrupt the timing, get after it, and it's almost like the way Rick Pitino's defenses used to play at Louisville. They'd hand check the entire game because they know that the officials aren't going to call it, and that's kind of what I think the Saints get away with a lot of times. And you can tell early on in a game the different officiating crews how they're calling the game, and then if they're going to let them play, usually the Saints defense is going to have a good day. And when they call a lot of pass interference calls and a lot of holding like they did in Atlanta, the crew was calling it very tight, the Saints will struggle.
Yeah, but Sean Payton seems to have been enjoying what he's doing, and those rule changes that are being talked about, they get started here, and then they go really heavy at the owners' meetings at the end of this month, where many of them get voted.
Yes.
And some get tabled for another meeting, but the discussions start here at the Combine. So let's hear what Sean Payton had to say. It's about 2 minutes. Ask a couple of questions by our crew up in Indianapolis. So here's Sean Payton.
Good. Different. This is the first year I've been on the competition committee, and so, man, you get in Sunday night, start your meetings Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and it's been interesting. I've really enjoyed it. I mean, there's a lot of topics covered, and it's the kind of the preview of many of the things that we're going to be discussing when we get into the spring meetings. So it's not like decisions are being made; they're just being discussed with the players' union. They're being discussed with the coaches subcommittee. They're being discussed with different groups, and so it's your intro to the topics.
How positive would you say the discussion over the controversy over what is a catch? How is that moving forward?
Well, I mean, it's moving. We've seen probably every challenging or catch worth debating in the last 20 years, and yet it's at the very early beginnings of it. And so hopefully, as we get down the road, our job will be to bring clarity and come up with a clean way to look at it for everyone, and that's the mission.
But how much have you enjoyed having a seat at that table, just being able to offer your opinion on?
Listen, it's fascinating, and it's humbling. I'm very appreciative of that opportunity and being around. I used to work for Mr. Mara. I've known Mike Tomlin a long time. I used to work for Stephen Jones. I used to work for, a handful of these guys and known a number of them. And so when you get in a room like that and truly it's, passion for our league, what's best for our league, and it's enjoyable. It's there's challenges that come with it because you want to come up with great solutions.
That's it.
So Sean Payton, I'm gonna guess he took Jeff Fisher's spot because he used to be big in the competition committee, and now Jeff Fisher is no longer an NFL head coach. I don't know if he's maybe one of the spokesmen, because at the owners' meetings, it's usually Rich McKay, who's the president of the Falcons, and Jeff Fisher would address the media and talk about the rules with the head of officiating. I don't know if Sean's that high. I don't know. But
I think he'll probably have to wait his turn on that, being the spokesman.
I would think so, yes.
Yeah, I mean, Rich McKay's always been the go-to guy for that. I think Rich McKay really likes it. He's always been involved.
Especially when he breaks the rules and pumps in bad crowd noise and gets fined.
I think we all agree. I think there's universal agreement that they need to fix the catch rule, right? I mean, it doesn't everyone agrees. And I think they're going to address it.
I think they're definitely going to address it. Now, what's the rule is something I'm sure is going to be long debated. And, Jeff, I don't think that they're going to change the pass interference rule. I just don't.
You don't?
No. I read on Twitter from Andrew Brandt, of course, former front office guy, does a lot of media. He says it's come up plenty of times in discussions, and it always gets the boot. And I think maybe other teams who don't want it to do that say, all right, well, if a cornerback gets toasted and they just tackle a guy, we're only going to get 15 yards. So there's the double-edged sword of that rule. So I know it's the way it is in every other level, but it's been that way for so long, and I'd be surprised if it passed.
It sounded like in Peter King's column that somebody had done some research on it, and it really doesn't affect that much. I mean, there's only a handful, maybe a dozen penalties like that during a given season. It's not overly common, or am I wrong on that?
I don't know.
That?
I don't know.
I heard it.
That sounds low, because I think
they said there's not that many of those
you catch
penalties
a few
here.
every week.
I don't know. I just
Maybe
remember
not.
reading that somebody did the research on it, and it's not as common, and so it's not a front burner issue for the league because it doesn't happen that often. But
So maybe that's why the rule probably won't change.
right, that's what I mean.
Okay.
That's the argument against it is, we're not going to change a rule that only happens once every, 20 games or something. But it seems like, I agree with you, it seems like it happens more often than that. Maybe because we watch the Saints and it seems to happen a lot.
Sorry, PJ, it's happened to you a whole bunch this year. Every time I see PJ out there, I'm like, well, I got to throw it deep at him. It's going to be pass interference. And, yeah, that's what it is. A little bit of breaking news. I mean, it's not going to really affect the Saints too much, but the draft order is now official in the first round. There was a coin flip between the 49ers and the Raiders. The 49ers won, so they're the 9th pick. The Raiders are the 10th pick, so a little interesting.
And I just saw where Saquon Barkley had a vertical leap of 41 inches. That's pretty strong. That's almost Clyde Verdane-like.
Yeah, that's right.
I was waiting to see.
Yeah.
Not in a mustard costume.
Not in a mustard costume. And not with mustard over your body either. Not in a mustard concert with no.
Have any of y'all ever recorded your own vertical? I don't think, even when I played basketball, I never really knew what my vertical was.
No, I was just glad that I feel like at the peak of maybe my athleticism, you could get like the little small basketballs.
Mm-hmm.
And I could get close to dunking that on a 10-foot goal.
Wow, that's impressive.
This is when I was.
You dunked?
Oh, yeah.
On a 10-foot goal. Not Nerf. This isn't Nerf basketball.
I'm going to keep talking now.
This isn't a Nerf rim on your door.
Jeff's trying to needle you, Clyde. Stay tough. Stay tough.
So, I used to be able to dunk, and then the highest I remember at one point ever in high school was the top of the box on the backboard. So,
what?
Oh man, I'm calling you on that.
Air Verdane.
No, on the glass. The how you have obviously
you touched the top of the box.
Yeah.
So you could reach like 11 feet.
Yeah.
I'm calling BS on that.
That's fine. Whatever.
This is like some kind of fantasy island.
I would love if someone I know.
Video or it never happened.
Shoot, there is actually video of me dunking in a high school playoff game to seal it and
bring it. I want to see it.
Okay, I have to go back to Morgan City.
Clyde, I'm giving you full permission. If you find that video and it shows up, Jeff, Jeff's going to have to go sit in timeout. We're going to have to just...
Fair enough.
Top of the box? No way.
Top of the
no
box.
way. This is some kind of...
that's big time mega leap.
I had some hops, man. I mean, I was pretty decent in high school. You don't look at me now, and you would never know it. People think I was a football player because I'm so big, but I was actually a decent basketball player in high school.
All right,
I'm not doubting that. I'm doubting top of the box. That's what I'm doubting. I think there's a little embellishment going here.
Okay.
Maybe too much shrimp and petroleum.
We need to see this on the cover of the Morgan City Gazette. Is there a picture of you?
Daily Review is the local newspaper.
Sorry,
Morgan City Gazette. Lord. The Morgan City Daily Review.
The Petroleum Press.
Yeah, the Petroleum Press. Yeah, the shrimp.
The Petroleum Press
Yeah,
Gazette.
the Shrimp News and Petroleum Gazette.
Poor Clyde.
I love you guys, but I'm gonna break everything in the studio when the show's over.
It's all right. We're moving out of here in less than a month.
I know the company probably wants us to do it.
Exactly. Get rid of this.
Clyde doesn't have to. He doesn't even have to take the elevator here. He can just jump up to the 31st floor.
Yeah, he's Skyman.
Just like Spider-Man.
Dr. J. Taking next thing we know, it'll be taking a dollar bill off the top of the backboard.
Exactly.
Darnell Hillman.
Leap a car. Like the guy Walter Thomas. Remember he leaped a car?
Yes.
And he made it 15 minutes during Saints rookie minicamp and bailed. Or it was like rookie tryouts or something, and he bailed. So, all right, let's move on. One more segment here on the show. No, we'll hear from Darius, Guice. You're talking about Saquon Barkley. He was a stud. With not just the leap, but bench press. He was a monster.
Oh, he was? I didn't know that.
He was a monster.
Why not take him first in the draft? That's who I would take.
I would not argue against it, but we'll hear from Darius Guice on his thoughts of this NFL Scouting Combine coming up next here. Sports 1280, NOLA.com, the iHeartRadio app, Dunc and Holder.
Well, I've been deep down in that darkness. I've been
top of the backboard.
Last match.
Top of the box.
Top of the box.
He's so mad over there. He's like all stewing.
I hate y'all so much.
I can tell when Clyde gets stewing.
Saturday, March 31st.
I have to talk to you. What's your wife's name?
Stephanie.
She
never saw me play, so you don't have anything there.
No, I was to talk to her about when you stew.
Will there be
seen you stew.
Oh yeah, she knows too. She
Mike Hudson,
knows.
from iHeartMedia New Orleans.
She knows I'm not happy.
New Orleans is growing its sales force.
Sure.
If you're an experienced media rep, any media, I want to talk to you. Call me, 504-679-7300.
We finally get a remote broadcast, and I'm in London.
Yeah, that's what you deserve.
Serves you right.
Just a remote. That's what you get. You deserve it.
That's even better.
679
You can play crawfish.
Yeah,
Free crawfish is the greatest thing ever.
iHeartMedia is an equal.
Dave, you're going to be at the remote?
My mom has a...
No, I'll actually be in Biloxi.
acid wash denim jacket.
There you go. Ain't nobody gonna be here but me and Larry.
Shoulder pads. But I just got a new phone from AT&T, and check this out. I got a second phone to gift to my mom. So now
maybe if it goes well,
ditch her old one for a phone
other
that can
things down the road.
Wait, maybe you can video. You can Skype in.
Skype
we could have Jeff on an iPad
Like,
and
there's
just stick
Jeffrey
him
on the
next
big
to
screen.
me.
Hi, Jeff.
I'm here from Buckingham Palace.
Wireless service. See store.
I asked the Queen if she would like to suck a head. I'm now in jail.
Yes. It was misconstrued, the language barrier.
Local Girl Scouts are going all out with their cookies.
I'd like a spotted dick, please.
Yes.
I am going to.
You got to squeeze the tail. And
Dave, are you a fan of?
That.
Are you a fan at all of Flight of the Conchords? You know who they are, right?
Yeah, I can't remember what the hell they do.
They're like a comedy duo
They're on
that
HBO.
sings their own songs, and it's like comedy. And they had their own HBO special. HBO.
Yeah, it sounds familiar.
From New
I
Zealand.
probably recognized it as soon as I saw it.
Yeah, they're hilarious.
That's what you're going to see?
Well, that's one of the things I'm doing over there.
Change
But
for
from-
a child
yeah.
in need.
Brett,
Be part
Brett,
of the change.
present.
Become a sponsor
Present.
now at
Barry,
Present. Jeff are the biggest
compassion.com/radio.
dorks
That's
ever.
compassion.com/radio.
I woke up again.
It ain't a Friday till we get hootie.
That's right,
Dunc and Holder now. Eric Asher next at noon on Sports 1280 New Orleans.
I went and burned the
Fun show. We talk shrimp, petroleum, scouting combine, Pelicans, baseball,
Bike lanes.
bicycling,
Bike lanes, mountain
Denmark,
biking,
Copenhagen.
Copenhagen turn.
We've taken a bunch of turns, but it was a fun show today. If you missed any of it, sports1280.com, NOLA.com. now there's a horse in there.
We haven't talked horse.
Clyde almost spit out stuff everywhere, Dave. You just,
That just came out of nowhere. We weren't expecting it.
Sports1280.com, NOLA.com, iTunes, SoundCloud, YouTube page, and Clyde always does a great job with the recaps.
He does.
On NOLA.com.
We give him grief, but we love him.
Absolutely. Bringing up the Lamar Jackson debate, I think that's great. The Kenny Vaccaro stuff, Clyde.
It was fun.
We'll keep you around. Buddy.
Yeah, thanks. I appreciate it.
Mustard costume or not?
No mustard costume, please.
There you go. All right, let's hear from Darius Guice. Running backs are going to be in full display. I think it's pretty consensus that Darius Guice is the number 2 running back behind Saquon Barkley. And Saquon Barkley is I would be with you, Jeff. If I were a team in need of a weapon and didn't need a quarterback, I would have no problem taking him, just like I wouldn't have any problem with the way the Jags took Leonard Fournette. I think when you got a bona fide guy, you go get him, just like Zeke Elliott. Idiot, stupid stuff aside of Zeke Elliott, he's a great player.
Yeah, and I think the bust factor is very low on Saquon Barkley, right? And that's what you should be trying to do is, and when you're the Cleveland Browns, you just need players. I mean, they need players all over the board, and I think he would take the pressure off whatever quarterback they bring in there. So go get him, and then I think they also have like the 9th pick or 8th pick or something like that. They have another pick very high where they could address quarterback if they needed to. I'm pretty sure they have 2 picks in the top.
Yes, Cleveland has the 1st and the 4th.
The 4th pick.
Okay, yeah, even higher.
Yeah.
So they could get a quarterback at 4, but get the best player in the draft by most evaluations. And I think the other guy that looks to me like a no-brainer is the guard from Notre Dame. What's his name?
Quentin Nelson.
Quentin Nelson. I think if they drafted Barkley and Nelson, 1 and 4, or Minka Fitzpatrick, they'd have 2 bona fide future Pro Bowlers.
Well, you talk about Saquon Barkley. I think the bust factor on Darius Guice is low. I think we haven't seen everything he can do, and he actually addresses this because they don't exactly throw the ball to him a lot at LSU, and I think that's something I think he could actually be pretty good at in the NFL. So let's hear what Darius Guice had to say. Again, about 2 minutes of some Q&A with different media. I just figured run it all at once. So here's Darius Guice.
Been a foregone conclusion in the media. Does that make it personal for you?
No. I'm still out here to do what I was preparing to do.
What's that?
Train hard and do everything to the best of my ability.
What's maybe the most important thing that you want to show while you're here this week?
Speed. So really focusing on a good 40 time.
How would you describe your strengths?
I'm very powerful. On the field, one guy rarely ever tackles me. At LSU, we don't really pass the ball much, so I can't really speak on my receiving end. It's just not how we operate our offense, but I'm pretty good receiving as well. I'll show you guys that tomorrow as well.
Does seeing Leonard have success as a receiver maybe, help boost your confidence, or maybe, show other teams that just because you're at LSU doesn't mean you can't be a pass-catching back?
I mean, you're right. A lot of guys, say I can't catch and stuff just because, on film I don't really catch as much because we don't throw the ball. I feel like people shouldn't really speak on things they don't really see much of, so.
How tough was it finally getting, the opportunity to be the guy this year, but then having to deal with the injuries?
I mean, it happens. It's football. I had to get adjusted to that role last year when Leonard was out with injuries. So I pretty got adjusted to that role early last year. In this past season, injuries suck, but, you got to fight through it and keep going. I mean, I got to show them the receiving drills tomorrow,
Have you had to work on your route running or anything since you've been through much of it, or is that just kind of there and you're just waiting to show game?
I mean, I'm pretty sure everybody worked on the route running for the drills and stuff. That's just about it.
How much is family on your mind this week, especially your father, as you go through this?
Not at all. Focusing on the drills. Got to lead the family at home.
But how much did your upbringing shape who you are, though? It seems like, obviously you run with a lot of passion, and you talked about your story in the past and what happened growing up. And how much of that do you bring with you as a player, you think?
I pretty much bring all of it with me as a player. I think about the struggles, I encountered with early in life, and how my mom struggled, as a single parent, raising me and my older brother. And, I just want better for her and myself. And, I run with that passion on the field because I just don't want me and my mom to struggle anymore.
There you go.
Darius has been slated. I've seen around 20 to Detroit. They could certainly use a running back. I've seen him projected, say, to the Steelers. I've seen him a couple of times be projected out of the first round as far as being maybe like an early second-round pick, maybe like second or third pick in the second round. But I just think that Darius Guice is going to be a good NFL player. I don't see his skill set. I think he's going to be a capable receiver. I think the things he wants to display, I'm curious to see how fast he is. I think with the 40 time that we saw the over-under was it like 4.38?
Yeah, something like that.
I don't know if he's going to run that fast, but I do think he's certainly a ready-made running back.
Yeah, what's his
play
speed?
Right away.
Do we know what his speed? I don't think I quite know what Guice.
How fast he is.
Yeah.
Well, I know that at one point, I believe this past year when he was on one of his runs, I think they clocked him at just under 20 miles an hour at his top speed. So he's got some. He's got a burst of speed, especially once he gets past, I think, once he gets to those second and third levels. If guys miss tackles on him, it's going to literally from that point be you have to get your fastest guy on him. But guys, what I was going to say is I was around Darius a lot. I've been around Darius a lot over the course of his career at LSU, specifically the last 2 years when he took the reins after Leonard was hurt his last year and then the year before that. That's the most serious I've heard Darius in an interview for a long stretch of time in the amount of time that I've been around him. He's on a mission. He is taking this combine very seriously. I can hear it in his voice. I can hear it in the way he's answering questions. I think he knows that people are questioning whether or not he could be a capable running back in the NFL. And from just hearing those answers and hearing that interview,
2 minutes.
He is absolutely 100% laser focused on smashing this entire combine. And then once he gets to his pro day, solidifying whatever spot he's going to take. And his quote yesterday about if you don't draft me, I'm going to make your defense's life hell.
I'm glad you said that because that wasn't in that soundbite, and that was the primo quote from him that if you don't draft me, I'm going to make your
defense.
What is it? Defense.
Yeah, I'm pulling.
I'm going to terrorize your defense.
Something like that. Yeah, pretty in your face kind of a comment. And I think maybe Darius is looking at this as, at first he was a top 10 pick going into his junior season. Injuries slipped a little bit. I think also the fact that Saquon Barkley is now
who just hit a 41-inch vertical.
Jeff was saying earlier, Saquon Barkley is the number one, no doubt about it. And I do think that Darius wants to elevate his stock and be drafted higher. I think he's going to be drafted late first, early second, and I think he's going to be a very good pro.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. I think he's going to be a really good pro. He's a low risk player.
If you don't draft me, I'm going to give your defense hell. That is what he said. That is what he said he is saying to NFL teams when he's being interviewed.
Well, when we come back Monday, we'll have a bunch of these results and be able to get a little better gauge of where we go. And then next week on NOLA.com, we're going to be starting our Saints mock drafts, which is always fun. So absolutely. So, all right, you missed any of the show, NOLA.com. You can check out the update and then sports1280.com, NOLA.com, iTunes, SoundCloud, YouTube page. Eric Asher coming up next. He's at Tracy's. My place. I like it. So go check him out over there. We'll be back here on Monday. Sports1280, NOLA.com, and the iHeartRadio app. Enjoy the weekend. Dunc and Holder.
That's awesome.
Hello. Thanks, Dave. Appreciate it, brother.
All right, guys. You have a good weekend.
Doctor, new non-emergency service is called Uber Health. And when you book an appointment with a doctor's office, senior care facility, physical therapy center, and more, the healthcare associate will be able to book a ride for you. Uber lets healthcare professionals book the ride because it wants to keep the service accessible to users who don't own a smartphone or